I know a lot of you be getting upset each time I hype myself up with the applause. Yeah, but it gets me all hyped up and all that. So, how are you doing? How is everyone? Greetings today, and happy holidays for you wherever it is you're watching from. I'd like to welcome you again to another episode of today's of this show, Society and Mr. Ron. So I'm having my panelists coming up one by one. So, but before I bring them on, I'll just lay out the topic for today. By the way, I usually start off by saying, yeah, I had a wonderful day, very interesting day. Nothing too dramatic. Fine, calm weather. I love the weather. I love the holiday mood, and I'm happy. Okay, so I'm happy to discuss this. So let me welcome in. Okay, I think I see Bookie now. Sorry, I don't want to keep her waiting. So let is she there? I can't see her again. Okay, I'll wait for Bookie. So today's topic is a bit of an interesting one, not necessarily controversial, but it's something we need to talk about. It's something we really, really need to talk about. And is marriage a selfish romance to the couple or a selfless duty to the family? And it's something I really want us to discuss from a place of honesty because for those of you who have been watching my updates on social media, you see that I'm really crying out that the institution of marriage is under serious attack. It's under serious attack. In fact, if care is not taken, 20 years is too long. People won't be getting married anymore. And and there are direct consequences to these things. It's not just the fact that people won't get married. There are consequences to these things that will affect you in turn. Like you know what they say when you raise children when you raise children in non-stable home, like when I speak non-stable homes where the mother and father are present, or how broken children, how they turn out in life. And I'm not it's not my opinion. There's data science to this, statistics. Everybody's saying it. And before I even started saying the statistics, I already believed in me that this is true. That there's going to be a what is it giveaway? There's going to be a negative outcome for this. But anyway, I don't want to give in too much opinion, so I don't, as usual, I just want everybody to say their piece. So I'll be welcoming the ever beautiful Bookie. Let's give her a round of applause.
Hi, Brother Ron.
Why are you so happy today? What's going on?
I'm excited. I'm always excited to come on your show.
I know I'm a wonderful person to be around. That's not what we're talking about. Like,
The whole
what's
family, the whole group. It's a bit of chill out time for me from the kids as well. So to be able to
I
have
don't
intellectual discussions.
have they started bothering you?
Yes. Yeah.
So other than that, how has today been for you? I didn't go on live last night. Did you?
No, I got a message, but I didn't see him until like 3 a.m. in the morning. When I woke up, I saw he was on around 3 o'clock. I can't sit
Oh,
up that late. Like if I get started, you can go on, but to say that I'm sitting up past, oh no, I struggle with that.
oh, okay. I get your point. I see.
So
So
yeah.
you said the discussion for today, very uncomfortable one, but it has to be. The discussion needs to be hard.
But why
It's
uncomfortable though? Why uncomfortable?
in a world where truth is uncomfortable. People don't want to
Mm.
listen to. People don't. I learned the hard way that that's the way the world is, but I don't know. People just don't want to listen to the truth. People, so we have to address it because I showed a few people they're like, "Oh, Ron, no, you're against romance." I said, "No, that's not what it's about. It's not about being against romance. It's about priorities. I'm not against lovey-dovey situations. No, far from it. No, that's not the point. The
Okay.
only thing, how do we prioritize what we sign up for? When you sign
Hmm.
up for this, what do you think it's about? You think, is it about the Walt Disney? Is it really about the Walt Disney impression about marriage? Or, let me even talk about this before you come on. You see, we have to be careful because as we grow up, we begin to find out that we're being socially engineered to uh, to have proclivities in certain aspects of relationships. I'll give you an example. As a lady, let me start with boys and girls. When you are born, you you're introduced into life with cartoons, and most majority of cartoons we watch are Walt Disney cartoons, and we all know who Walt Disney is in real life, right? But
Yeah.
who he was, sorry. And you find that they start teaching young people that, especially women, that they should just be helpless. Prince Charming is going to come with a shiny armor and is going to rescue you, and you will live happily ever after. In fact, all what Disney cartoons end happily ever after, meaning that once you get into this institution called marriage, nothing will go wrong. Everything will be smooth sailing. Marriage is a bed of roses. Once you start, okay, then from there we move on to the pre-teen and teen years when you're also introduced to Mills and Booms, these romantic novels that young ladies and some men read, and you find it teaches more. They are teaching. In fact, this is what is dangerous about the novels. They are teaching young ladies how men are to behave, right? Oh, he's meant to carry you on his back. He's meant to kiss you on your forehead when you're sleeping. He's meant to be making breakfast for you while you're sleeping. He's meant to make sure that your feet does not touch the ground. He's meant to hug you. He's meant to cuddle you 24 hours of the day. And
Now, wow.
guess what? While you're teaching all these things to young men are having another orientation, a totally different orientation, which has nothing to do with any of those stuff you're reading, right? So you
Right.
have
So
young men.
young men are watching the same thing.
No, young men are busy introduced to sports, combativeness, competitive lifestyles, ruthlessness.
Right.
They are learning how to survive life in another way. Then we move from the
Okay.
music as if the what they call the romantic novels are not bad enough. Then you become an adult as a lady. You're now introduced to uh, telenovela, this this Latin soap operas. What they call them? Yeah, telenovelas. You're introduced to
Yeah.
telenovelas, then all these Indian hyper sensitized and hyper romanticized these dramas. Then you start finding that, oh, okay, you start having this, and this is for single ladies. You start having this, oh, beautiful butterflies in your stomach and all that. Guess what? You get married eventually. Then you marry a normal guy who know naturally was not exposed to this thing. Then you start feeling, when he was dating me, he was doing this, was doing. Now he wakes up. He does not even do this. He does not do that. Oh, let me introduce today. Hey, how is it today?
Hey, how are you doing? Good
You're
to
looking
be
good,
here.
though. That's for you, honestly.
I
Okay.
will take the compliment with a pinch of salt, but
trust,
something's different.
trust me. Trust me. I'm a nice guy.
Well, yeah, we're grateful and Merry Christmas in advance.
Yeah, happy
And the same
holidays.
to you.
Yes,
So,
Happy holidays.
yes.
so
Happy holidays to you as well.
okay, let me just round up my monologue there. I'll just throw it to you guys to give me your opinions. So now the lady gets married. She has all the remember she's been programmed from Walt Disney to romantic novels to telenovelas and to Indian. Then we have chick flicks. That's all these romantic movies. Then we have rom-com, romantic comedies. Then at the end of the day, she marries this guy who is just being a regular guy who wants to go to work, provide for you and defend you and make love to you from time to time, and be like, oh, I woke up this morning, the guy did not, the way he looked at me, he didn't show that he loved me. He didn't send me 20 SMS today. He didn't do this, he did that. It means he doesn't love me. I've read about this while I was growing up, and these are the signs that my husband does not love me. The next thing, you plant the own seed by yourself that the guy does not love you, and it goes different ways. I know that there are people who don't understand that I am sorry there are people who can't say I am sorry. I learned to live with them. Like, they won't say I am sorry, right? But they're going to do actions that are greater than saying I am sorry. They just can't say it. So as I matured older, I used to be one of those people that say if you don't say you're sorry, it means you're arrogant, you're proud, you don't mean it, and that. So, but later on, I learned to cool down, and tone it down. Like, okay, if somebody knows he or she is wrong and the person is willing to go out of his way to try and please me to make up for what he or she must have done, I think I will accept it, right? There's no playbook, there's no blueprint as to how husband and women should live perfectly. We all go along, but the important rule is that we must always strive for reconciliation no matter the conflict we encounter. That's my rule to marriage. Your willingness to tolerate not everything, your willingness to forgive, and your willingness to reconsider certain things. And that's been my motto. That's how I've lived by. I'm not going to tell people to do what I don't do. It's not the marriage thing is not a bed of roses, and I'm not one to come here and romanticize everything for you. The reason why I'm bringing up all this topic is that we've seen what's been going on social media lately. Everybody's celebrating people's divorce. And who are these people divorcing? Not regular people. It's usually celebrities, sports people, and just popular people that the general populace look up to. And when these people do these things, they feel as though that if this guy is Dagoja is doing it, then we all should be doing it. That, oh, this is the new trend, and they are the pace setters and the trend setters. So it's on this premise that this topic came about, and I would like everybody, and please don't go by my narrative. I need different opinions, and so we can see how we can balance out this situation. I just give my own personal opinion, not as general fact, but just as an opinion. I want to hear from everybody, both those in the comment section, those watching. Send your comments and all that. And by the way, we are broadcasting for the first time on rumble.com. So that's a big one for us. So we'll start with you, Vuki. Tell us what you think about the situation. Then from you, we'll go to Tunde before everyone comes up.
Hello, everyone. Whenever we have these conversations, I like to put myself at the starting point of remembering the conditions of the societies that we live in. So we do not live in the ideal standard world that we should live in. And whatever we encounter in this environment is the antithesis of what it's supposed to be. So that's always my first starting point, because it then helps me to judge things correctly. And marriage is dying. The value of marriage is dying because the quality of human beings has de-evolved. Yes, the quality of people is not what it should be. The mindsets of people is not what it should be. We have been spoilt in our society by freedom of will, freedom of choice, freedom in general. It has proved not to be a great thing. So that's where I just want to start the conversation by saying that let us remember that the world that we are living in is not what was originally designed for us, and we need to bear this in mind as we approach this subject, and not take the standard of today as being, because one thing I hear is, oh well, it's normal, but no, it's not normal. This is what we've made of it. So let me just start with that. I'm trying to get my explanations across a lot quicker and a lot shorter, so I don't, waffle. So I just thought, let me do it with one point at a time.
So, Mr. Tunde, so Let's have your take on this.
It's an interesting question. I think. I really think it's a. I actually think it's a combination of both. It's a combination of your individual self and your individual relationship. But the foundation of your individual relationship has to be your family. Um, what makes your individual relationship? So, how do I start with this? If your individual relationship does not work, then you cannot be successful in terms of fulfilling your role as a family. But at the same time, if the family had done their jobs initially and you have the right background and you have the right foundation in life, then in reality, your ability to understand what marriage is and the context of what marriage is will be a lot easier to digest in the long term. So, but at the same time, we as men, we're very, very particular about the fact that we think marriage should be. We're very, how do I say this? Typically, it is men that like to remind women that marriage is not about fairy tales. Uh,
Mm.
and so I don't want to just go down that path without understanding where a woman is coming from as well. I'm not a woman, so I cannot speak for women. But what I do know is this, from my own perspective, is um, if you don't water your relationship with your spouse well enough, then all those things that you think that is about the greater good of the family, the togetherness of the family, you are going to miss out on doing all those things, however well your best intentions are, without you firstly understanding that you need to put into your wife all the different ingredients that you need to, meaning love, care, cherish, respect, etc., etc. So anyhow, those are my initial thoughts. That it's a combination of both. One feeds into the other. So I will, still let you. Let's we can progress the conversation from there.
You see how, apart from the Barry White
I
voice, in
love
which
that
is
point
a,
that he made.
oh, me, I was talking about the voice. Okay, let's switch ideas. Yeah, I like the
I
point.
love
You speak.
I love the voice as well, but I love the point that he made, and I just want to really support that. And I'm very proud to hear a man.
No, he has a good head. I don't
I,
bring the.
I I'm proud to hear a man that
Yeah.
supports the idea, or rather supports the understanding that that women need this. It is actually necessary for our nature that we are romanced. I'm not saying that it needs to be an everyday thing, but he understands that this is the best one of the best ways to maintain a woman is to show her, because you're supposed to love us at the end of the day, according to the scriptures, are you not? You're supposed to demonstrate love, and you demonstrate it in a way that we can understand and receive it. So well done, brother Tunde. That's a
We,
one
we are
tick
actually
down for you for that
commanded.
one.
We were actually commanded to love you guys. Command. They
Yes.
didn't beg us to love
So
you.
what
He
do you think that
commanded.
means?
He commanded us to love you guys. Sorry, brother Tunde, can you please turn your device sideways so I can fill up the black spaces? Make sure you're on auto rotate so that it can work.
Hmm.
So I
Hey.
think it's time for Inter to come on now. Ah, Inter, sorry I woke you on.
I'm glad you did, man.
I hope mommy is watching before you speak.
Oh,
I
before
hope
I
mommy
did
is.
anything, I put it on for her because
Hi,
I
Mama Ghana.
Hey, Mama Ghana.
she's in her room.
So okay. So and if you're watching, please don't forget to like, subscribe, leave your comment wherever it is you're watching from, either from Facebook, even if you're watching from what's the name?
Jesus.
Rumble, YouTube, everything. We are now on Rumble. I'm so excited. So
Oh,
let's go. Let's see what Sandra has for us today.
oh
Let's
boy.
go.
Well, I can't help. Hi, Tunde. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you. I loved what you said. I don't know if you practice it, but it
You,
sounds
you
so
know how many years He's
I mean,
the chairman of the marriage
if
association.
he's single, any lady hearing this is like, oh my God, let me stand in line. However,
Mm.
I think that
His madam is sitting beside him. Oh.
she's very fortunate. I'm telling you. Anyway, I can't help but say that I think women, or in the modern society, or modern women, have really been set up for failure because of, how we've been conditioned through, I mean, from a young age with Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, all this nonsense. So all of us are really expecting this knight in shining armor, like Ron and myself were talking about, ride off and live happily ever after. Nobody talks about the struggle day to day, with different backgrounds coming together, different personalities coming together. Uh, and having said that, when we do get married, we should be committed to walking this journey together and trying to start our own new family. And with that comes a lot of responsibility, not just to each other, but to the new lives that we're bringing into the dynamics. So um, having selfish in intentions from the beginning, it's almost like the person is coming in with selfish intentions, with their own agendas as to why they're really getting married, with and right away you know there's no commitment there. So the person has, to me, one foot in, one foot out. um, when you're committed to something, you're committed to the ups, to the downs. And today, I think they've lost the meaning of commitment. I think they've lost the meaning of, to get something beautiful, to attain something beautiful, you have to work, put it. And I always like to use this phrase: you put in the work, you put in the time, you will wear the crown. Understanding each other and knowing that you're loved, knowing that the man is there to protect you. You know, what is it? The protector, the provider, the professor. Uh, I think women, I'm not giving us a free pass here, have been influenced by society and our expectations and what we see. Oftentimes, I remember growing up as a young kid in Nigeria when a lady's dressed a certain way, or even over here in the US, they begin to put unnecessary, hey, Kelly, unnecessary pressure on the husband that after all, your mates have this, they have that, they're driving this, they're living here, they're living there, and they want it now. I think the women are spoiled. They only care about themselves, looking good, driving nice cars, living in big houses, and they're not thinking anymore about the journey together. They're not even thinking about the children, and what example that they are setting for the kids. As far as the men are concerned, I've seen very, very selfish men. I was married to one that did not understand the concept of marriage, togetherness. He was always thinking single, and I'm thinking family and committed, and turned my cheek the other way constantly to try and make it work, until it got to a stage where uh, too many things were going on, and I felt very alone many, many times, till it just didn't make any more sense. Mr. Ram, can you pass it? I need, please, to make my coffee. So that's just my intro, and
Oh, okay, no
I
problem.
feel
I was
myself
beginning to
going
enjoy your
in a
story.
in a direction I shouldn't really be going.
Okay, 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 that's
It's
fine.
right here. Can I just make my coffee?
Okay,
Should
no
I send
problem.
you?
Okay, so I think welcome. Let me give Mr. Consequences applause. Right. So, for those of you asking for the link to join the studio, I just posted it in the comment section, so I'm sure you can see it now. So we're off to Mr. Kelly. Welcome, brother. Shalom Shabbat. Yes, I got it right today.
Shabbat Shalom.
Oh God. Okay, Shabbat Shalom. Okay, so I'll get it next week. It takes a lot of practice, but I'll get it. I promise. So
Well done for trying.
okay,
Shabbat
welcome.
shalom, everybody.
You're welcome.
Staviki, Binta, hello, my brother, Mr. Tunde. Shabbat shalom to the VS. Is it my turn yet?
Yes.
Okay. First off, I wish I was there to hear what my other panelists have got to say so that I can know where to join from. But all the same, is marriage a selfish romance to couple or selfless duty to family? I think the first question is what the problem with marriage is today, where people think that where we go into marriage with the same mindset that we have as at when we were single. Okay, you see, it is tough living as adult, living with our parents. It is easier growing up and living with your parents than it is when you become an adult living with your parents. I don't know if that makes sense, but just think about it, right? You think it is at that point where they are paying your school fees and stuff, and where there are still guidelines around what you're allowed to do. You will see that our relationship sometimes can, but when we start to grind, I'll tell you where I'm going with that anyways. But when we become adults, sometimes it's that sense we they use. And the sense that makes our relationship work at that time is we are becoming a lot more selfless. Like, man, this thing with this man doing, or this thing with my mom doing, saying that my mom, right? Saying that my mom or not my dad, I know how I would have reacted to it. Now, this type of thinking is what we need to take into marriage. The thinking of, if you are not my wife, you are not my husband. So that thinking in itself brings about selflessness. And selflessness, I believe, is very necessary when you choose to thrive and grow with other adults. We can see it even in our place of work sometimes. All right. Sometimes the job is not fun. Sometimes it is very difficult to get along with some certain people. But selflessness sometimes can help us get things going. So, but when we go into marriage, still thinking selfishly, or still thinking that, hold on, no, I'm going to deal with this marriage from how I feel alone, romance and selfishness and stuff like that, you will see that whoever it is that we're dealing with, we struggle to match our expectation. But I think over time, if we're going to look at what we expect from each other, sometimes we just end up settling. It's not like our expectation is usually matched when we're seeing it from other people's distance. Sometimes the way Sister Buki want me to address her, the way Sister Buki want me to respect her, I might not really be doing enough. But she understands, okay, she understands, and she's saying, okay, I could deal with that, okay, I could deal with that, I could work with that, I can understand that, okay, he is not me, okay, and he may have his unique way of doing things and stuff like that, and this is what keeps our relationship going. So if you're going to look at marriage and you think of marriage from a very selfish romance standpoint compared to when you're seeing it as a duty to each other, you will struggle more seeing it as some selfish romance than you will struggle when you're seeing it as duty. And I believe it is duty. And why is it duty? Okay, why are we getting married in the first place? Or getting married, I believe, I might be wrong, because we want to thrive. Okay? We want to survive. We want to thrive. I believe that is what marriage is. We have to thrive, we have to survive, we have to exist, okay? And then we have to then sustain and pass on to our offspring in such a way that when we are no longer here, at least we will still exist even when we are not here anymore. And for you to achieve that, you must see marriage as duty. And that is why you will see, I'll give you a very simple example. For some times now, some of the things I see, and I'll tell you, I see on internet when it comes to, let me just use something such as cooking. People who look at marriage from a very selfish romance standpoint, they think when you say a woman will cook, right, there is a punishment, that it is slavery or enslavement or oppression. But when you see it as a duty, maybe your thinking will change towards, I'm not cooking for you, I'm cooking for us. I'm not cooking for you, I'm cooking for us. I'm becoming more conscious as what is my man or my woman going to eat, instead of seeing it as some selfish distance. But once you see it as duty that is necessary for both of you to thrive, I think your distance will work better, your marriage will work better. So for me, I will stick to it being selfless duty, because if it is not selfless duty, we can just be boyfriend and girlfriends. Okay, we can just be boyfriend and girlfriend, and we don't have to marry and be in each other's space. I think that is how I see it, and I'll leave it at that. I'm just warming up, anyways. Had a long night last night, so I'll leave it at that.
Thanks a lot, Mr.
Can I,
Constable.
can I
As
Are
you
we
say,
going to have clap after everybody speaks every time? Brother?
yes,
no. It's
Is
only
it going
for
to
the
be clapping every time?
no more claps again. After opening
Okay.
remarks, no more
Jesus
claps.
is Lord.
So it's during the Basbos we do Jesus is love, not.
So I just
So
wanted to
okay.
ask a question, using our parents as examples, oftentimes I've heard with people moving forward with their life, it's like my mom I saw my mom, she used to take this. I don't know how she did it. I could never, I can't take that. That's borderline abuse. That's this, that's that. And I mean, this is what I hear so often today. Whatever your parents did, you don't have to deal with it. You don't have to do it. Women took so much back then, and it's like enduring and striving towards something is completely out the window. But this thing as using parents as examples, I think it's important that we should, but also I don't know where we draw the line, Bookie, with
We'll get to that. We just that I just allowed for the opening remarks. We'll
okay.
get to all that and we'll discuss it. So Buki, you're next.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I think I'm perhaps getting a different sense of the question, because I was thinking about the word romance literally, in terms of, so,
Ah,
do you get what
Prince,
I mean? I'm thinking of it literally. And I
ah,
think Brother Tunde as well was thinking of it literally. So this is how I view family. I think of family as a tree, all right? The father is the roots. Yes, without the root to the tree, there is no family. The mother is the trunk of the tree, and the branches are the children, the children of the tree. So in my head, this is how I think about a family. And the rain that waters the tree is things like love and romance. Without love and romance and understanding, compassion towards one another, the tree would not be healthy, the tree would not grow. All right, so that's how I think of the family. So having said that, now if the root and the trunk of the tree are not strong, then the branches would not survive, they would not grow leaves, they would not sprout as they should. And so I say that to say that without a strong bond between husband and wife, yes, you will not be able to have a successful family environment for the children to grow up in, because ultimately we don't have children just for the purpose of having children. We have children for a legacy, and in order to have a legacy that is long lasting, the children need to know and understand what a good marriage looks like, and we demonstrate that to them. They need to see that mum and dad are a couple that love each other. Above all things, they take time for themselves. It's actually important for the children to see that they are not the center of the marriage, because we make children the center of our marriage. All the focus goes on them. So I see marriage in two stages. There's the first stage where it's just husband and wife, and I think it's important to enter into a marriage just husband and wife. There are some people that go into marriage with a child. Do you understand what I'm saying? I think it's ideal for a man and a woman to be married and have time to themselves in marriage where they can spend time romancing, understanding, building each other up, developing that bond, because that bond is going to be tested when children comes. When children now come, that's the second stage of marriage. All the preparation work that has been done in the first stage should now be able to sustain in the second stage. But this is not what we find typically in marriages, and couples struggle to understand each other because very often children come very soon, especially in Nigerian society. We're encouraged, mothers are on the necks of the children. When am I going to see my grandchild? There's that pressure immediately on the couple to start having children. They need time to get to know each other and enjoy marriage, because when the second stage kicks in and kids come, then the duty aspect of things now really come into play more seriously. It's there in the first stage, but it's now even more pronounced in the second stage. So you cannot I see it as a balance of both being necessary. Romance is necessary and duty is necessary, because they support one another. And in the second stage, the romance aspect of things can die down a little bit, yes, because you've got responsibilities now, but you should never stop going out as a couple on your own. The kids can stay with grandma, the kids can stay with friend. It is important to keep that spark and that love between husband and wife going, because when they have that, they are happy within themselves, and the children are happy because they've got loving parents that they can look up to. I'll stop.
Okay, thank you. No clapping for you. So who is the next? Who is the next person?
So Ronald, by the way, I do agree with the clapping thing. The clapping thing was getting me.
Yeah. So I'm obeying you guys, and that's exactly what
Yeah,
I'm
no
doing.
clapping, no clapping. But I
All
think
right.
Miss Bookie made a really good point. But something that very recently I've noticed a few times, Michelle Obama has been talking about the hard times in marriage, and how do you manage those hard times and the difficult period that you go through in marriage, because you know the marriage is not going to be smooth sailing throughout. But I think if you've done the foundation and if you do the hard work, you have put in the necessary safeguards around your marriage. You've been able to make sure that your wife knows that she is valued. You've also been a man that has stepped up. I think Mr. Kelly did make a point that cooking, for example, you've been part of that process. You've been part of the children have come. You've changed diapers. You are the kind of person that is really involved in your family, helping them in setting up the home. You're not just a guy that sits behind the scenes and your wife does all the heavy lifting. If you're the kind of person that you've gone through that period where you've helped to kind of set the table in your family, then when the hard times come, and also not just set the table in your family, I would say you're also the kind of person that has remembered to continue to date your wife. I think that once you've done all of that, then when the hard times come, it is easier to understand that it is a temporary situation.
Mm-hmm.
And life's like it's full of peaks and troughs, right? You're going through those low moments, then you understand that there are couples that when that balance wasn't there from the beginning, when they go through the high times, they have incredible highs and then they have incredible lows. You can reduce your highs and lows by making sure that you've managed the challenges that you're going to go through because you've worked together throughout that process. So I think from my own perspective, I think that those hard times, everybody will go through those hard times in marriage. If you can make sure that you continue to do the steady things that you should be doing as a man, as a woman, throughout that period of times, throughout that period, then when those hard times come, it's easier to bear those challenges at that point. So that's one thing that I just wanted to throw in there. And I think the other thing I noticed is this, and I think this is where I'm kind of a little bit controversial in my own way, is that I feel like society kind of has pushed us down this path where we are. I want to say that my parents' generation, and I think each person has a different way they look at it. My father is 85 years old, so when I say my parents' generation, they are the is kind of that generation that you know saw Nigeria at a time where they had Western exposure and all those things. I'll say for me, I feel like that generation was the first generation to ever kind of truly have exposure to the way the Western world worked and how we relate with people. And I think it's so strange, but for me, I feel like we need to, that generation was the first generation to truly start to change the way that we see marriage and relationships. And they're the first generation that took their exposure to the West and started to kind of bring it into the way that we do things. Not to say the way we ran marriages was 100% great before, because I think women could have been treated a little bit differently. But I'll say that, excuse me, to me, I guess my concern is that that generation were the ones that truly introduced what we are seeing today, and it's trickled down further. So I think that we need to go back to understanding what is the value of relationships. I think that generation was the first generation that everybody was building their own homes. If I have to get specific, they're the first ones to build their own individual homes, whereas before we lived in communities, right? And we lived in a scenario where we were all understanding the concept of marriage and how we do things together and help raise the children together, help progress the family together. When you think about it, the concept of marriage is really broken within to me, African culture. Um, and I think one of the things that really concerns me about that is when I see the Chinese and I see the Indians, when I see the Jewish people um, here in the US, I think one of the things that really resonates with me is the understanding of family and how they live together, they work at it together, they help one another, they progress one another. All those things are, think about it from, and I'll end. I don't want to kind of carry on forever. Um, I'm one of 7 children, and all 7 of us are all homeowners, all paying individual 7 different mortgages in different parts of the US. Um, to me, that's a description of what I consider to be a lack of understanding of a lack of understanding of family structure, and how I feel like if we were Indian, for example, that would not happen. 2 or 3 of us would combine together in one home, buy a big enough home, all our families will live in there. Our women will feel protected, looked after, but they will also have time to be able to think about the family. But then at the same time, we'll put our money into investments, etc., and we'll be way ahead of the average Black family that each one has one big singing, all dancing home by themselves. So I guess I'm moving into generational wealth now, but I'll come back to marriage. I just think that marriage is something that we need to readdress what it means for us people of color. So I will hang my mic for a second. You can clap now, Ronald. You're on mute, by the way. Don't clap. You're on mute, Ronald.
What you just said deserves a good applause, but I just have to stick with the rules as moderator.
Yeah, no more clapping.
And not the panelists. So we'll go back to Sandra. Yeah. So let's. Yeah.
When he was talking about the Jews, the Indians, and I made it a point years ago to follow the East Indian community, only because I have a fraction on my mother's side through her dad of being mixed with Indian. And do you know that no matter how many degrees a woman has in the Indian society, it means nothing, because as far as that culture is concerned, a woman's greatest accomplishment is being married. And this is where you have matchmakers making a lot of money, bringing families together, or couples together, because they know the importance of family and building their society. And even though it's being very influenced by the West now, and a lot of things are breaking down, but the fundamental things are still there, you know, where marriage is super important. And they see their parents work, but they see their parents come home, even when they're having disagreements or anything like that. The crazy thing is sometimes they don't even know each other coming together, but they do come together and they're committed to that union and whatever comes with it. And you see how the man's whole life is work. Everything he does is for the family, right? I mean, there are no selfish intentions when it should, and there should not be any selfish intentions when it comes to your family. And like Buki said, he's the root, the husband is the root, he is the foundation. And once you have a great foundation, everything else that sets on top of that will be solid, you know. And the woman being the trunk seems to be the stabilizer of the home, knowing that the root is solid and she has somebody that, you know, got her back in all circumstances. And when the man walks into the home, back in the day, you hear the mother telling the kids, daddy's home, you know, and she teaches them to respect, you know, the foundation
Mm.
of the home, the one who, the glue who holds everything together. It's like, go first and go greet daddy, he's home, everybody welcome daddy, blah blah. You know, this is almost non-existent anymore. You know,
Yeah.
the mother sets things in place, the dad comes home from work, you know, everybody welcomes him like the king. He then feels so appreciated. Men don't want much, you know, they just want to know that they are respected, they are appreciated for all their efforts. And the woman makes sure that she appreciates him and makes sure that the children in turn appreciate their dad. You know, it's a big deal. When I was growing up, it was the only thing my father required when he traveled is that his family is home to welcome him. He did not want to come home from a long journey to an empty home. He hated that. And a lot of men, their strength is really rooted in their family. When they're committed to their family, that is where they're, it's just like Samson's hair was his strength. Men, their strength is their family. How do you know this? When the wife goes to the husband and says, honey, I'm going away for vacation and so on, in his mind, he's like, thank God there will be space. I'll have time to myself. No noise. Oh, he's so happy. By the time they're gone a few days and he's coming home and his voice is echoing in the house, it's like, damn, I miss my family. You know, so you know that the man is rooted in his family. So, and I mean, and that's a man that doesn't have selfish intentions either, that is not, you know, uh, selfishly making decisions without considering his family, without considering his wife or anything. And when I say selfish decisions, which will benefit just him alone, if he's making a decision and he talks to his wife about it, but is firm on the decision, because in his mind, the decision that I'm making is for the betterment of the entire family. And the wife, in turn, trusts her husband. There has to be an element of not even an element, there has to be a lot of trust, that I trust the decision you're making, because the decision that you're making is going to impact all of us. And you, my husband, I know that that decision is supposed to be to build us up. It's for our own good, right? As opposed to making a decision that's just going to benefit me and me alone. You guys, whether you like it or you don't like it, I'm doing this. So that singular thing coming together for the first time, yes, it may take a little bit of time to always remember that there's another person, there's another life with me now. But once you're meshed perfectly together, in sync, you have to be in sync. It may take a month, it may take 2, sometimes even a year when you're newly married. But once you have the basis solid, then you are okay. Then I can fully trust this man. Then I know that whatever this man is doing is not just for him, it's for all of us together. And I think, knowing who you're marrying, spending time to really know each other, your likes, your dislike. And one fundamental thing too is learning the love language of your partner. Where back in the day, a man will come in and other family or other people, guests or whoever or kids is like, damn, your dad is like a gorilla, man. He's always grumpy. He's always giving directives. He's mean. He's this. He's that. No. He's at the end of the day, he's just a big teddy bear. And if you don't learn your partner's love language, there's going to be a huge issue in that relationship. So that's my little bit for now, to be continued.
Okay, thanks a lot. No claps for you. So we're going to Mr. Kelly Consequence. You give us before we move to Omolara. Omolara is okay. Omo Sexy, is that you? Omo Sexy. Okay, okay. I'll before you speak Sexy, I'll allow your guy to speak first before we move to the next. So, Mr. Consequence.
I think so. Binta, maybe I didn't hear you quite right. You said that sometimes selfish decision that benefits the family. Was that what you're saying?
No. Benefits the man alone without thinking about the entire family. But a decision that that you have to trust the fact that when he's making a decision, he's making it for the betterment of the entire family, as opposed to making a selfish decision that benefits the man alone.
I just want to clarify.
Right.
Because when you make, what I was trying to just look at is, I think when you make a decision alone that benefits not just you alone, but benefit other people that you have within you, yes, that is no longer a selfish decision, by the way. So that's what I was trying to touch on. Anyways, yeah. I think we just have to.
Wait, hold on first. Mr. Kelly, wait.
Kelly had a hard night.
Wait, I'm coming. I need to understand, why is Mr. Kelly looking so good? Are you coming from somewhere or you're going somewhere? This is very unlike Mr. Kelly.
Concern you. Now your business.
Okay. Because anyway, man,
Kelly regularly looks good, actually.
No, Kelly's going somewhere. He's going somewhere.
Kelly. In Apple.
I don't know. Maybe I just sit down for house. Now he with me from
not going anywhere. He really looks quite sharp.
Everything they go. So they Kelly know they bought in this. Don't worry, we'll talk about this later.
It's the cap that downgrades him. It's the cap that makes him look like a thug sometimes. He's not wearing the cap. When he's not wearing the cap, he looks respectable.
Let's not paint Kelly black publicly. All right.
My yard people just enter me. We just wake up. As I wake now, we just wake up together.
I like the shirt too. I like his shirt.
There's something that has been bothering. There's something that's been bothering me.
You look beautiful, sweetie pie.
I'm more sexy.
Good afternoon, people.
Let's allow your girl to talk then after.
I don't get a girl. Which one is this?
Hey!
Now.
That one went straight to the heart.
I'm searching. I'm single, searching, and available.
Wait, I
Kelly
beg,
cheated
don't come
on
and
both
start
of us
everywhere, I
last
beg.
night.
Please,
Don't
please,
worry
please,
You
please,
know,
about
you
it.
please.
know,
Don't
eh,
start.
you know,
Don't start.
you know
Don't,
that this nowadays women, they don't understand that the worst thing they can do to their man is to disrespect their man in public.
In
They
public.
don't know. That is like
So
they never understand because we need to
God,
Forgot
I
teach
to
am so
love.
say,
far from the show.
We need to teach understanding of love to these young people. The worst thing you can do, you nowadays women, is to disrespect your man in public. Once you can
hey,
successfully make your man feel like a peanut in public, you have destroyed that man. Eh?
yes.
Anyway, no. Me, I won't say anything. Everybody is a witness. I won't say anything. Show you are laughing. It's between you. You
Oh,
see, you are blushing like a child.
Omolara.
I
Hey,
She has such a cute face, though.
Ah, she
no,
does.
no comment. Thank you, Jare, my sister Buki. Thank
She
you.
looks so
I know they
beautiful.
shout, they walk, they shout for phones.
let
Sis.
me put two of them together downstairs. So they'll be together. All right.
Hey,
So
Ah,
excuse me, I'm number
oh
one wife.
God,
I
God,
beg.
like
I am number
God, you
one
like
wife. I am number one wife, Mr. Rons. Remember yourself.
insult upon
Excuse me,
injury.
Ron. Kelly cheated on all three of us last
I
night.
was
You
there
don't tell
before
me
she came
that.
along,
Can't see how the girl they fight with Kelly, making
and
her.
I didn't give him
Kelly
permission
was
for
on
polygamy.
mode flirting too
Exactly.
last night.
Abio.
No, no,
Because
no,
you
no.
cannot
Disgusting.
cajole us to polygamy.
Kelly was
And we
babying
So,
me
know
the
what
whole
is
last
do
enough.
night.
you,
Enough.
Anyway, you can have
Omla, do you
him.
want to be,
I'm done with him. You can have him.
Omla, do you want to be side chick?
I
Because he's
can't be
like,
titled or numbered as a wife.
no. It's like there's side chickness in your face now. It's like you want to be a side chick. He's like, he's like,
Oh, Brother
he's like,
Tunde must be wondering what's wrong with these
Alatio
people.
The harem
he's
is
like
hot.
side chick. He's like side chicken is hungering you. If that is where you prefer, let me side chick you. No problem.
Alatio, you yourself, you know that can never work. Call work.
So what can work?
They
What do
work.
you think can work? What do you think can work?
In my own dictionary, the only thing that I cannot share with anybody in this life is my man.
Why?
Money,
So where
everything.
does that leave you and me?
Go on, Omolara. Tell them.
What if you say make me and Buki join together like bread and butter? Now, one of our ideologies where you know if you change with this one.
Who
I
wants to
can
share
share
their man in
everything.
reality?
I will
Nobody
never
wants
share a man.
I will never
Nope.
share a man.
to
I
share
go, you
his
see, as I don't you remember they give me award for being single now by choice. I go remain single like this. Jesus come down for me to be with a man that I
Anyway,
go even
And Jesus will be disappointed that you spent all these years remaining single. Jesus did not send the
no,
Bible.
no. Marriage is not a must for everybody. Marriage is not a
okay,
must.
everybody go marry. I
Start
don't
with
be
it.
everybody go run.
all right. The time is running. So let's go back
Oh,
to
So you know that now.
uh, I know son me find trouble. So let's go back to your guy.
Anyway,
So
the way it is, there is something, just when Mr. Tunde raised it, I just had to just give it a thought again. It's something that we've touched on a few times. And I keep wondering, what exactly is it that is causing, that seems to be causing, because it seems that we are the least married people, at least using US database, okay, of all races, yeah? Okay, we are even the least compared to Hispanic. Okay, Hispanic are still a little bit over us, Asians are ahead of us, Arabs are ahead of us, and Europeans are ahead of Black people. So I was just wondering, what exactly could be, what is that factor that is causing us to undermarry, or is it because I'm looking at it from the US lens or
Yes.
something? So could that be the thing? Okay. Or
No,
even
I
back
don't think
home.
that you are. I don't think you're looking at it incorrectly. I think that there is and I'm going to probably upset a fair amount of people by what I'm about to say, but I think there's a fair amount of misguided feminism in women of color, particularly. Um, and I say that with all due respect to our women, but I think there's I feel like there is feminism out there that is really important, and for us to sort of respect women in the way that women should be respected as equals. but I think it's the way that we define it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've turned it into some sort of stick to beat our men with.
Yes.
Fortunately, I'm not saying that feminism is not important. It is extremely important, but it's that when we turn it against our own selves. I mean, there's feminism in every other race, and you find strong women amongst the Asian women. You find strong women amongst white women. You find strong women amongst everybody. But it's only in our own culture that we've chosen to interpret feminism in the way that we have done, and sadly, our men, as a result, are running everywhere else. Our men are running to marry Asian women, our men are running to marry white women, our men are running to marry everybody else but our women. Why? That's because, but again, feminism is not the only cause for that as well. I think that's also a it's also a systemic issue as well there, where a lot of our men were sent to prisons in the US, for example. A lot of black men were sent to prison systematically, 60s, 70s. And if you think about that, a lot of men were then brought up by women and have misguided notions of, and well, I say this, but women raising men without a man in the picture can have
balance,
long-term effects as well. So when you think about that, you start to think about our own men and the challenges that, African American men, and you start to think about the long-term effects on them. There's a degree of self-hate in there, and then somehow along the lines, they also are looking for women that are slightly different. But anyhow, I think most importantly, what concerns me the most, to your question, Mr. Kelly, is that I think our women, we should encourage our women to feel strong, empowered, lead, all of those things. But we should also understand that in the process of doing that, we should not make our men feel less important or less relevant, and that we should see it as a togetherness to progress us as a group going forward. But I know that's a very controversial.
But I don't think we should leave the majority of the culpability at the feet of the women. And perhaps what you're talking about might just relate to the West, because I think the standard of the West is still different from the standard of Africa. Although, sorry, Ron, let me just finish quickly. I know Omalaya. Yeah, because I think we need to stop judging Africa through the lens of the West, because the corruption that African families are experiencing is as a result of that influence. Because prior to colonialism, we functioned very well as a family group, as a community. Communities were involved in family and in the raising of children. And post-colonialism, we lost all of that. Now inject the influence of modern Western ideals and values about family. This is why we now have the corruption that we have. But in as much as the women are responsible for using feminism to the degree that it should not, the men are also responsible for failing in their duties as well, in maintaining their homes and their communities, because it's not women that force them to, even if a woman is behaving, your wife is misbehaving, your primary duty is to sort the problem out in the house. But the majority of our men seek outside intervention as a solution to the problems that they're experiencing, and that even makes everything worse. So I always try to keep things balanced, because whenever there's a relationship between men and women, no one side is just responsible for the problems that both are experiencing as a consequence of that thing.
Yeah, I just to kind of come back real quickly and say this. I do not profess to have answers as it relates to an Africa or Nigerian context. I mean, for me, in my own case, the last time I lived in Nigeria, I was 16 years old. That's many, many
Oh,
months.
wow.
So I don't profess to have the answer from an African context. I can tell you from a European American context, because that's pretty much where I've lived the majority of my life. However, that being said, though, I will say that I agree with pretty much everything you said, Ms. Buki, in the sense that everybody has to take accountability for themselves and the role that they play in marriages. And some of the corruption of what we are seeing now started off in the West, and we've made everything that is Western seem to be perfection, and it dipped into the various fabrics of society. Now, of course, there are many things wrong with what we are seeing here, and if we are now introducing that into what we are seeing back home, that's crazy because we still haven't figured it out here yet, and we're trying to introduce that. But anyhow, I still honestly believe that in the West, there is a corruption that has happened with feminism that I think that our women specifically have completely misinterpreted. And I think that we also have a lot of weak men. I agree. And I also think that our men have been missing systematically. There's a systematic approach that has eliminated strong Black men from our societies.
Do you think it's deliberate?
Oh, absolutely, it's deliberate. It's a systematic.
When he said systematically, he's saying deliberately.
It's
okay, but not too obviously, as you should expect it to be obvious.
So while I don't want to seem like I'm saying that men should be excused, I'd say that there's also a systematic intention to weaken Black men. They've where Black families have been attacked and women have been left holding the baton. So when you put all of that into the equation, then you're going to have weak men. Men are not around. Men are not in society. Women feel more like they have to do all the work that traditionally men and women were doing. And now the whole concept of, so of course that births this idea that I am a woman, it is my responsibility, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. And then that gets passed on to another generation.
That's the example. It becomes the template.
It becomes yes. So that's where we've got to. And then sadly now, social media, all these people are there perpetrating this idea that, oh, feminism, go Black women, go strong Black women. You never hear that in any other race. Go strong white woman. What does that mean?
I don't need a man.
It's so those are the kind of things that we need to consider in our own culture when we start talking about feminism and the impact to us all as a group. And maybe that's also really key to this question that Ronald asked at the beginning, which is the whole concept of family. And okay, yeah, I guess I have outsaid my, my time is past. Thank you.
Sorry, I was going to respond to when you were defining feminism and how it went wrong and everything. You see, just like you, we all had our own notions. And what made us start investigating all these things is because of the state of the Black family. And when we went into investigation, we found out that there are two major movements going on, but only one has the limelight. And the one with the limelight is feminism, right? There's also womanism, and womanism was what was being practiced in the entire African continent and other places. And when you check the end goals and the consequence or after effect of these two movements, you'll find out that for us as Black people, if we told the part of womanism, our women will be better protected, better carried along, and better placed in society. Because what's going on now is that this thing has really destroyed the Black community.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I'm trying to be nice. I'm looking for a sweet way of saying it, but the truth is that it's not working. It's really not working. There's statistics every day. Even this morning, I saw a stat that really broke my heart, and I was like, and here we are. We are still driving for these things. We need to do what suits us. And I like when was it Sister Buki that quoted me? Shout out to Sister Buki when she brought up the Japanese analogy. And like we mustn't soak in every Western culture. The Japanese is Japan is an advanced nation, with any matrix you want to measure it, right? But they are deeply rooted in their beliefs and culture. What did they do? They just left what works for them. Then any good thing they found from the West, they took and implemented in their own culture. And that's why they are stable. It's a very stable community. Anyhow you want to look at this. Same thing Indians. I like what Sandra said. The woman can have a PhD or professor raised to power 10. At the end of the day, she already knows that while she's making all these groundbreaking feats, all these great things she's doing, it's a plus to the family in the sense that she still has to come back home and play her side of the game. I was watching one Indian movie where the woman was a prime minister of India, and the husband was just a cab driver. So there was a policy that the Indian government put in place. The cab driver, that which is the husband, who represents the husband. By the way, the husband wasn't the labor union leader, but he was part of the labor union. He was leading the protest. But this is the woman is knocking at home, anything knocking when he comes back home. You see that Indians have found a way to say, okay, when this woman is having official position, let's respect her position officially or professional position. But when it comes to the family unit, it should not be tampered with. Do you understand? And it's working for them.
Well, you
They
know
are
what
doing
is crazy, Ron? Even the monarch, Queen Elizabeth, from what I understand, was she was the queen and everything. But Bookie can correct me if I'm wrong. When it came to home front matters, right? In the palace, the nucleus of the family, that man was the head of their little whatever. You know, she could not bring that queen whatever into where the Duke of Edinburgh was. She respected him as the husband and as the head of her and the children outside of her
Guess
position.
what? Guess what? This is exactly how other races run their
My
homes.
screen is frozen. Is anyone else's frozen?
No,
No.
I can see you. Whose screen is frozen?
Mine, everybody is frozen on my one. Shall I go out
Okay,
and
go
come
out
back
and
in?
come in. Yeah, yeah. So in every other race, this is the system. It's only in the black race where somebody becomes important at work and you transfer that methodology into your home. It's not going to work. I don't know how many times we need to say this as a people, but it's really not going to work. So somebody was speaking before I came in. I think it was okay, Kelly, you are done, right? Okay. So Amolara, are you there?
Kelly is muted.
No, he said he's done.
Oh,
Amolara, are you there? I mean, well, if you're watching, you can send in your
she was
comments
on the
from
phone. She was on the phone, so
oh, okay.
into whatever.
Okay. So if you are watching, you can send in your comments from Facebook or YouTube. Anyway,
Anyway,
just send your comments. Yeah.
I see that Mr. Tunde hit on something very important. But I can understand because you see, whenever you discuss feminism, and you are as careful as you are when you discuss this whole alphabet movement thing as well. People just get too cautious. But in our minds, we know what it is that we want to say. If we want to, we know what we want to say, but we try as much as possible not to hurt people. So we tread carefully. Okay. You see, I feel like coming from someone who has I am in several groups, okay, which I'm sure some of you are aware of. I'm in several groups. I'll tell you something. We don't hear that discussion of feminism within white people. I don't hear it. You can hear maybe one or two here, those who they are using as, you see, the way the system works is very interesting. But you have to be willing to pay attention and follow everything down to the rabbit hole. If not, you will not know. The system will have a different target in mind. Then they will find those who they will utilize to get to their targets. So this is why I said I've had conversation with different group, white people that I have different groups. When I listen to them bring up the topic around feminism, they don't speak about it. They don't speak in favor of it anyway. White people don't really speak in favor of it. You will hear stuff like it is outdated. And that is when they are trying to be kind. Or they will say it serves its purpose and it's becoming a problem. Now, I don't know if we Black people have a unique problem that still needs feminism to fix. I don't know about that. All right. But is it fixing it though? Is it fixing it? No, I'm not seeing how it's fixing it for us. It's creating more problem. I think it would be wiser if we look deeper into what our problem is from a collective standpoint instead of from an individualistic standpoint where we don't even understand who is being utilized for different agendas. Okay, where we don't know who is being utilized for different agenda. I was speaking the other day on the platform and I said, until we start to understand that your celebrity behind curtain are paid specifically to say something they don't mean, something they don't believe in. Okay, they know they have the power to influence your thoughts. Okay, they know they have the power to influence your view of life or your philosophy of life. Those who control them, who hold their leash, speaks to them behind curtain, have them to tell you what they do not personally believe in. Now, if you're looking at it because from the standpoint of, oh, they are celebrities, they are popular, they are influencers, you will pick what they say to you, even when they do not personally believe in those things. They are paid specifically. You know, I was speaking to a friend of mine, Rian from Canada, the other day behind closed door. And because we're going to do some series together, and they said to me, do you know how many of your celebrities that are not gays? So especially you black people, your black celebrities, do you know how many of them that are not necessarily gays, but they are paid specifically to play that role? They are paid specifically to dress like a woman, paid specifically to talk like a woman, paid specifically to push the agenda, but they do not personally believe. They know something is not entirely right about it, but this is part of the things that they do for money. I'm saying that to say that sometimes we just have to, that this is the same look that I'm using. This is how I also interpret feminism. All right. This is also how I interpret feminism. But now here is what bothers me the most. The problem that affects the Western influence that seems to, we are admitting that we have adopted some not so good Western influence that is then starting to corrupt our view of marriage. But I used to ask the question of how come the same Western view don't get to the Asians and then to the Chinese, the Arabs, the Asians and the Arabs and whatnot? Why are they not being influenced in the same way? And I'm saying those living in America, living in the Western world, the Chinese people in Europe or in America, the Arab people in Europe and America, why are they not getting the same level of influence as black people? Is there something that is inherently wrong with how with us as a people, or what is the problem? This is some of the ways I'm trying to understand why our marriage is not working. And our marriage, I believe, Mr. Tunde said earlier on, that our marriage may not really be the best once upon a time, but it was working. People was understanding. And why was it working? Because that was where I was actually going. Why was it working? If it wasn't necessarily the best at that point, right? But still better than now. Perhaps maybe it is working because people see duty and, see duty, marriage as much, view marriage as duty. Like, okay, I'm in it. What can we do to, thrive as a people, as a collective? So maybe this is why it's worked in the past. But there's just something that I feel like we are ignoring, and that thing is, stop thinking selfishly and then start looking at what is our problem collectively. Yes, and then Fortune also touched on the thing about how men are being cut out systematically. Anyone who is investigating it will know that there's just something that is designed to work against black men, not only in the Western world, even in Africa, because we have to understand the causal relationship there, which is we look at them and then somehow we adopt from what they do. Okay, the problem of black people in America is just like the problem of Nigerians. When you look at how they behave over there, just like similarly, you can compare it to how we behave here too. And yes, and this goes all the way back to the 60s, to the 60s, the 70s, where, in fact, it goes all the way to the invention of the prison system in America, right? The prison system then, immediately after slavery, released the enslaved people, okay? And then no job, nothing. That was the first time America had prison system, right? So no job, nothing. Okay, invent the prison system, because you expect that those who are freed without nothing to live on likely turn to crime. So pick them up, put them in prison, and then over time they built upon that and then expanded it to what it is today. And you can look at the opioid crisis, the opioid crisis as well, the drug crisis in America and whatnot. So we just have to perhaps look back at how disadvantaged we become when we are not really fixing our marriage, because people do not also look at the economic aspect of healthy marriage or the economic implication of failed marriages as well, because those things also have the economic implication. They also step on our survival as a people, okay, because the Bible said a house which is divided against itself cannot stand, which is true. One of our problems today is because we are not working or thriving around marriage, which then Yoruba will say, you know what I'm saying? What we could have done as a collective is now becoming what individuals are trying to shoulder on their own, which is not working, which is not helping us in the long run. I think there's so much that we need to, and people do not understand. Like I said, I'll repeat it again. People think we have this wrong understanding today, actually, of marriage to mean how we feel. And we can just back off when we do not feel good. We can call it off. Whenever I have conversation with an Afro Nigerian, for instance, in Nigeria, and I try to get their view on marriage, what I usually get from them is, if you no love you, leave her, marry another. If you don't make you happy, leave her. Nobody have really, I don't usually see the African Nigeria even speaking around the economic implication of marriage, okay? The survivor or the lack of it, of whether or not our marriage thrive, what it does to us as a collective. Maybe if we start factoring all this thing into the discussion, we may start looking at marriage a little bit differently. But so long as we keep looking at marriage from, make you feel love, break up, knock you very well, like in suppose knock you, break up, let's match the same energy, all those childish stuff. Do you understand? So long as that is where we are left with our understanding of marriage, we would suffer. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you very much. That was a long and a nice one. Our beautiful sister Memoon has been watching and cooking for us, even though we don't know. Memoon, can you hear me? You're mute,
You're
Memoon.
muted.
Unmute yourself, Memoon.
Yes, I
Yeah,
can. I can
I
hear
said
you
you
very
were
well.
cooking for us. You didn't tell us what you're cooking for us to eat.
No, I'm just freezing, trying to freeze vegetables. So I'm chopping them up
Oh,
and
Fine to be seen.
I'll blanch and freeze. Pardon?
okay. No, she's on the
Yeah.
phone. So your time starts now.
Yeah. So the thing is, I've heard, I listened and I heard all the different perspectives. Welcome, baby. So I heard all the different perspectives. Now you see the thing. Oh, it's lovely. You see the thing is, I looked up the term of womanism, and it says here that womanism is a term used to refer to feminists of color, more specifically, Black feminists. Womanism centers the experiences, contributions, and effort of Black feminists to better the world around them for all humanity, not just themselves. Now, you see, when we are talking about history, we have
No,
to
you need.
first look into,
Is that all it says?
that's all
Did
it
it show,
says, yes.
did it
That's
tell
all
you the
it says.
contrast between feminism and womanism?
That is another topic. I can go there, but let me finish. This is my time.
Okay.
So the thing is, when we look at feminism, we have to look at what caused feminism in the first place. When we're talking about marriage, and they say marriage was working for whom? Before feminism, who was it working for? Was it working for both sides? Was it working for the whole family? No, we have to balance. We have to understand that there was a time that women were not allowed to go to school. We were not allowed to wear what we wanted. We were not allowed to do anything, drive. We were not allowed to do that. Yet at that time, it was said that the family was working. Working for whom? Working for whom? So now what feminism is trying to do, I don't like the fact that every bad thing is being labeled, thrown on the shoulders of feminists. No. In every single cause, in every single religion, there are people who deviate or who seek their own sect or their own cause through it. But we do not throw the baby and the bathwater out because, okay, some people are Protestants and some people are Catholic, so the whole Christendom is out, or because some people are Shia and some people are this one, so the whole Islam is out. No, no. Now everything is every bad thing is based on is thrown on the back of feminists. No, of course there will be some toxic people, just the way we have religious fanatics everywhere. But let us not keep piling it on the cause. Let's look at how far we have come. We all have daughters. We send out. We have benefited from the struggles of the giants before us. We are standing tall today because we are standing on the shoulders of feminists before us. This is just semantics. Womanism, feminism. We say that when you educate a woman, you've educated the whole village. They didn't say when you educate the woman, you've educated just the girl child. So what is good for the woman is at the end of the day good for everybody. Now let's go back to the marriage and what is wrong with it. We started out by the history. For instance, we have to separate American Black people from African Black people. It is not the same statistic. It is not the same statistic, please. I am in Nigeria, so I can tell you firsthand what people go through and what people endure for marriage to thrive. Now, if we're taking Black history, someone started from Black men were incarcerated. Black men were incarcerated systemically in that region. And you do not think that it has an effect on the Black woman? She now has to do twice the job that she had to do then. She does not have the time or the luxury to be baby girl. Who is she doing baby girl for? She has to be strong. And that is what has brought us to this day. Yet nobody is telling them, oh, okay, now if our men are no longer incarcerated and I can now do baby girl, please come and pat my shoulder and tell me, calm down, baby. Don't tell me, oh, this stupid woman, she's just strong for nothing. She's just there, kaka like stone. There was a reason. There was a reason. I'm kakaraka like stone. When we talk about marriage being Black people having the highest rate of unmarried couples, we now go further and say that, oh, that's why the Black men are going to marry other races. Now, if the Black men were going to marry other races, the statistic will not drive Black men. It will come down for Black men. It is not saying that Black women are more unmarried than the Black men. No. It is saying Black people as a sect do not have the highest rate of unmarried couple. So if they were marrying other races, then it will drive their own statistics down. So that let's put that aside. So you hear some talking points that keep getting repeated, but they are not based in any logic or any science or anything at all. Now coming to I don't know what is the next point. There were so many, so I think I couldn't keep them straight. But as it is, I think we should not keep looking at Black women. African women are very different from women in America. African women still do not have the rights that women in America enjoy. We do not have the luxuries that women, especially financial. So it is still seen today that part of your accomplishment in Nigeria is to get married. And a lot of it, you will see people die. We have stories of people being killed by their husbands just so that they can stay in the marriage. Well, please. I don't. This is not our reality. It is not at all. So that's all I have to say for now.
Can I ask some questions real quick though?
Wait. Let me.
Everyone.
Before. So everybody just take a breather. So I think let me be fair. The first person that raised up his hand was Kelly. Then the next is Buki. Then Sandra.
Go, Kelly.
So Kelly starts. Then Buki. Then Sandra.
Okay. My good sister Memu, when it comes to discussion around feminism, right? I think it is something that I have fair knowledge on, starting all the way from the Technical 4 Convention of 1847 or 1857, there, right? But let me ask this question from what you've just said. You said who is the marriage working for? No, I don't have my pen and paper. Very unusual, right?
I
So he said,
do.
who is? Yeah, he said, who is the marriage working for? I wonder. I don't understand that question fully, right? Are you then saying that the marriage was serving the man, the husband? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I want her to just say that. So, Memun, can you hear me, sis?
I can't hear you.
Yeah,
I
I was saying earlier on, you said that we said marriage was working. Who was it working for? And when I follow your explanation, are you by any means saying that the marriage was solely serving the men, which the husband? Is that what you're saying?
What I am saying, or what I said, was that the marriage wasn't serving the woman. Okay?
Wasn't serving the woman.
The marriage, it wasn't serving the woman.
Was it serving the man?
I speak to what I want to speak to. So I am stating, based on humanism, feminism, and how it is today, it wasn't serving the woman.
Okay, I know. So I mean, marriage.
Yes, so I want to end it there. If you feel that it was serving the man, or by extension it was serving the man, that is for you to put in. But why I stop my conversation where the woman is concerned, based on all the backlash women get these days. So you can go ahead.
Can I jump
Any
in?
other question?
Mr. Ron, if you don't mind, can I jump in and have my time? Hello, Mr. Ron. This is Edward. You're muted.
Edward, please be patient. Give Kelly his 5 minutes to address the issue.
So I'm not sure how that works, because I don't. Okay. Then you also said that women were not allowed to wear what they want to wear. Correct?
I said so, yes.
Sister Mary. Okay, what exactly was it that women want to wear that they were not allowed to wear?
Whatever it is they wanted to wear. It varies from society to society. So you want me to specify which society and when and where?
Yes. I like that.
You see, there's no need for us to do that. There's no need for us to do that, because we all know what is fact and what is fiction. Now, I can tell you, for instance, that
sorry, Maymoon, you're not talking to just us. You're talking to everybody watching. So you need to educate everyone. That's why we're giving you time.
No. You see, the issue about this matter is that we all know that. So even if I'm educating everybody, we can go to Afghanistan of today, and I'm telling you that they are not allowed to wear what they want to wear. We can go to where are we going to? Saudi of the other day, that they were not allowed to drive. We can go to Nigeria of years ago, where they were not allowed to go to school. We can go to America of like 70 years ago, where they were not allowed to vote. So that is what I'm saying. A lot of things, a lot of progress has been done by the feminist movement.
Let's narrow it to Africa.
Yes.
Let's narrow it to Nigeria.
And these are all documented. We can go online and get it done. We can go and get that research done. I don't see why we should narrow it to Nigeria. The scope of feminism came, or where it started from, the broad. And what we were saying about marriage was not limited to Nigeria. It wasn't. When we talked about marriage, we integrated the American society into, and also talked about how it influenced the Nigerian family. So why should I limit my response to Nigeria?
Fair enough. Let me touch on something. First and foremost, you said when we go to Saudi.
Any more questions?
Okay, you said when we go to Saudi, and then when we go to somewhere, they are not allowed to wear what they want to wear. You said, sometimes we have to, and then you said in Nigeria, women were not allowed to go to school. Something that I found, I think you're missing something very fundamental to what you just said, and I'll touch on it in a minute. First and foremost, Saudi men themselves are not just out there. The Saudi men themselves are not just out there wearing anything that they want to wear either. The same thing to the Pakistani men. They are not just out there wearing. The men are not just wearing anything. You don't see their men normally say, throw off their shirt and then showing their throwing off their top, showing their chest. You don't see their men on crazy jeans, or what do you call these outfits? And there's a reason for that. There's a religious aspect to that. And I don't want to guess you. If I go by what you're wearing and my little knowledge, I could just guess that you are a Muslim. Okay, you're a Muslim sister if I go by what you're wearing. Now, it is not Nigeria that prevented you from wearing something else. Perhaps your dress sticks to your religion. We must understand how this two works. Your dress has something, is symbolic to your religion, not the Constitution of Nigeria. So I'm saying this to say then that when you say they are not wearing what they're supposed to wear, it has something to do with their religion, and it is not just limited to women alone, it extends to men. Now, you mentioned something around women were not allowed to go to school in Nigeria. I've heard this a few times, and it blows my mind when I hear it. And I've addressed this a few times as well. So let us cut to it. Once upon a time, before the advent of Western education, the boy and the girl was educated in their homes. Okay? Homeschooling was not only what, like I said, before the advent of Western education. Okay? What we call schools was just like our uncles coming together, calling us together and then telling us things. That was what we understand as school then. Now, when we take it all the way back to, now pay attention to this, when we take it all the way back, let's take it to Middle Ages Egypt. During the Middle Ages Egypt, okay, Middle Kingdom, sorry, forgive me. During the Middle Kingdom Egypt, the common man generally do not have access to education. That's why if you see their writing system, all right, when you look at the way their writing system is set up, the didactic, okay, or the didactic was limited to the common man who does not have access to education. And then the hieroglyphics was what the educated class was using, and they were few. Okay, now, but let me just touch on this thing, the advent of Western education. Here's what happened. We get involved with these strangers. They brought their version of education. Okay, they brought their version of education, which is totally different from what we're used to. So now when they introduce the version of education, the same way, the same formula, right? When they introduce this version of education that we don't understand, okay, what it was about, the decision of our parents or our ancestors or great-grandparents, whatever it is, right, was, you, my son, I'm going to allow you to go test this thing because we don't know what you would meet. Okay, if it is difficult, I understand that it will be something that you as a man would cope with better than a female or the girl child. All right, it wasn't because they are doing it because they feel like you're less. And I'll give you something to understand it this way. The same way they would send the male child to go try that thing out was the same way they were sending the male child to go labor abroad. They were not sending you to go labor abroad because they don't know what you would meet there. They are saying, let's protect the girl. They are not doing it out of sheer wickedness. Secondly, the same way that whenever there is war, they don't come and call you as the girl child to come and go and test this war or fight in this war. They call the male child to go fight those wars. So it was just a pattern for our parents who want to be like, whenever we don't understand what to get from something, we're going to put forth the male child. So like I said to you, when you hear that, oh, he traveled to go and labor, even this boy thing that they used to do, they don't used to send the female child to go do boy. It used to be the male child that go and labor for 6 years and be free on the 7th year and make money that will come and serve the family, including the girl child. It was the male child that go out there to go and do boy for 6 years and be freed on the 7th, make money to come and provide for the family, including the girl child that had to stay back home. So we have to understand that our parents wasn't doing it because they are wicked. They are doing it because it was the same formula. When there is war, to pick the male child, come and go and try. When there is boy that need to be done, servitude or indentured servitude, the male child goes to it. So when this Western education came that we're not familiar with, it was just common sense for them to say the male child should go and try what this thing is. You have to understand that they were also taking the male child, our male child, away from home abroad to go educate. And our parents didn't understand, or the parents of those days did not understand what they would be faced with in this strange man's land. Do you understand? So they then released the male child to go try. Also, education in those days was not our source of income. Education in those days was not our source of income. We were doing agriculture, we were doing hunting. Okay, so by so doing, there was no, I do not like my daughter, therefore I don't want her to be educated. Education today, okay, education today was not what it was way back then. We didn't understand what to expect from it. So I just want us to clarify whenever we're saying this thing, because sometimes it's usually passed across as if our great-grandparents were wicked, or they're clueless, or they don't like the girl child. That was why it was the male. How many male child was getting educated, by the way? How many people were getting educated at this stage that we're talking about? How many people were getting educated? Because education wasn't our source of income. Education was taken from us. How many people could finance all their children? How many? I'll get back to you. How many parents could finance all their children to school? Okay, if they have to. Do you understand? If they have to, if they release all their children to go to school, how would that family thrive? Because agriculture was how we were making a living. So sending all the kids to school would bankrupt the family or put the family in poverty. So that was what was happening. It was just try and error. You just go try. Let's see what will come out from it. So it wasn't something that was done out of wickedness. What is the other point that you made? Now let's you see, this is what I said earlier on. You see, when we get into the topic of feminism, let's just be clear with something. It has not served. We think that this misconception that we have, where we think that feminism was what then eventually gave women access to education. I don't think so.
Mr. Consequence, can you land? Because I just want to bring out some certain facts and consequence. I just want to put some things on the table and that will help buttress your points. Because if you're saying things like it did not help and things like, women and will become, agitated. So if I could just, if you don't mind.
I'm not sure what to refer you to as, my brother. I don't know your name. I think, is that African 7 or something? Okay.
Yeah.
But so long as we keep staying agitated instead of looking at evil I've said, because I have something to touch on, by the way. But I'm going to pass it to you. I think you have a lot that you want to say. But like I said earlier on, if you listen, I said, I understand that whenever we have this conversation around feminism, we tend to tread carefully. Okay, when Mr. Tunde was speaking, I understand what's going on, right? Prior to the 1960s, no other race outmarried black people in America, including white people themselves. Prior to the 1960s, no any other race in the entire America outmarried black people. And these were black people that had just came out of slavery, came out of Reconstruction, came out of Jim Crow. In fact, they didn't even come out of Jim Crow at this point. They were still dealing with segregation. Redlining was in place too. This colossal problem that they had to deal with was in place, but we outmarried every other race, and we did better in the past than we did today, using America as an example. So what was the factor that was missing today that was present that set us to cope differently way back then? So it's because we married. We prioritize each other. What? What? I think she said something around mass incorporation.
Apologies,
okay, anyway,
everybody.
let me pass it. Mr. African, I don't want to get fired up for nothing. I'll pass it over to you.
After you, sister, it was supposed to be Sister Cookie, but since you told me you were jumping off, let's Edward, please, Memoon, everybody, just be patient with him. Then we'll come back.
All right,
cool. Quickly.
All right, cool. So brilliant. So I like how Mr. Consequence actually finished his point with the fact that prior to 1960s, if we're talking about African Americans, they were married. They were the most married the most married race of people in the United States of America. until when this whole feminism came in and things of that nature. And they always like using the phrase, "Ain't I a woman?" by Sojourner Truth. And that is what I want to double down on. In Seneca Falls in 19, when was it?
18, 18,
18,
I think
sorry,
1857 or 1847.
1848.
The
It's
Seneca
1840.
Convention.
Yes, Seneca Convention in 1848. Clearly, the truth was she was not even supposed to speak. The white women were the ones that said that they were the ones that were going to lead this. And it was a woman by the name of Elizabeth, I think is it Katie Stanton.
Yes.
That was one of the major women. There was also Frederick Douglass as well. But the idea was, do not speak in this convention as a black woman. Do not speak. And then she emboldened herself and then she spoke. And that's when she gave the famous, there are two of them. There's the one in Akron, Ohio, but the Seneca Falls one was the ones they said she shouldn't speak it. And then she had to say, "Ain't I a woman?" And at the time, African Americans were in slavery. So therefore, she was talking from the point of, hey, the Negro is looking for rights, and the woman is also looking, the white woman, really, to be honest, is looking for rights. But the white woman actually enjoyed what the white man was providing at the time. She was in the house. She wasn't on the field plucking cotton or anything. So when we look at feminism now that happened in the 20th century, there was an absolute about, hey, the civil rights movement was predominantly financed by African American families, mother and father. So it was a program to break the backbone of the movement, and feminism came up, and then they gave some certain types of privileges to the African American women. And that's what the whole food stamps, the whole housing. You can't have a male in the house, Section 8 housing. You can't have a male in the house and all. And that gave birth to the whole baby mama saga. When it comes to the African continent, because I heard when our sister was speaking, she's not on stage. The African continent has had the most queens who have ruled over kingdoms in the world.
Thank you.
And the most queens who have led armies, led men. Oh, Maimuna is back. The
Yeah.
most queens who have led armies into battle in the world. At a time in, I think it was 2015, the African continent had the most women with sensitive portfolios in the world. I mean, I think we had a Nigeria, sorry, because I know not everybody's from Nigeria. Nigeria at some point had a minister of finance, a minister of finance, a minister of petroleum. And Nigeria's predominantly is based on its exports of crude oil to the world. And these two portfolios at a point in time in Nigeria, in I think 2013, 14, 2012, thereabout, about that time, it was those two massive portfolios were held by women. And then you see Rwanda at the time, they had a massive, the legislation was filled with women. So I think feminism is not African, is not for Black people to start with. it is something that has been used as a tool to break the marriage of African people and Black people globally.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the program and its intention from onset. That is why you can see that when you see feminist Black people, they're all over the place. But when you meet with feminist white people, they're trying to get married, they're trying to build a family as well. It is a weird thing. Even when you meet with
It's weird.
Asians, even when you meet with Asians, you meet with every other race, they're still talking about family building. The only group of people on planet Earth that are feminists, that are thinking about, hey, I don't want a man. You know what? I will get my Section 8 housing and my
I could
food
do
stamps.
bad all by myself.
I could do it all by myself, and all of that crap are the Black people globally. And it's crazy because that was the intention of feminism from the onset.
But
And so, we can
so
look at um we Maimuna, 1 second. We can look at all the billionaires that are African women on the continent today. All of them are married. None of them is single. None of them is divorced or whatever. They're all married. And then once you come to the African Americans, then you start seeing the whole mix of, oh, I don't need a man and all of that. So I think what Maimuna was speaking about earlier on, Black women weren't allowed to do this, they weren't allowed to dress this way and all of that. It wasn't even the case on the African continent to start with, because we literally have a spiritual system that is created to have dualism, goddesses and gods. That's the foundation of African spirituality. It's not a monolithic kind of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Like, we don't even have that concept that way, even if you look at our spirituality, right? And so,
1 minute more, Edward. 1 minute more to round up so that we can pass
okay,
it.
okay, so once you're looking at that concept, right, you can see that when it comes to Black people and African women, when it comes to Black women and African women, they're hopping on this bandwagon of feminism has no foundation in the full history of African people and Black people, considering that even the first women convention was done at a time that the entire African American community was still under slavery. With that, I think I hope it has helped and added value to this conversation. And yeah, that was my 2 cents in this topic. Thank you.
Okay, since sorry, because he's
Okay,
giving his first. Okay, I'll skip.
I don't think Amalara has spoken.
She's on and off the phone.
she's
That's the
busy.
problem.
Oh,
She's
By the
busy.
way, let me throw in a dagger. You see, that Seneca 4 confession was never, ever called anything close to feminism either. The idea of calling that a feminist movement was a letter.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
understand? It was not referred to. Even the
Consequence.
coinage of the term feminism. Yeah.
Consequence. You know what it
Yes,
is,
sir.
right? They always feminists always use the basis of the Seneca Falls. That's why I quoted it. And they
Yeah, I
always
know.
use
I
Sir
know. I was
Jonah.
just trying to say it
Consequences, they
wasn't
always
called
use
a
Sir
feminist
Jonah
movement.
Wright. Consequences, they always use Sir
It
Jonah
wasn't
Wright
called a feminist
speech.
movement at all.
Yeah,
Edward,
yeah,
wait. So that we don't. Edward, wait. Let him finish so we don't
yeah.
talk over each other.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
No, I'm just
Kelly,
saying, right? It wasn't even called a feminist movement. I'm just
Yeah,
trying to just add that to the discussion.
can I
Okay.
just clarify something?
Maybe we should then start, if we want to discuss feminism, maybe we should then start with the second wave. And the second wave then will then be, okay, where we'll start discussing feminism and asking ourselves, how has it improved our condition? I want to see,
I was
honest
gonna go
question.
into that, Kelly.
Okay, sorry.
Man,
sorry.
that is Kelly,
Sorry.
1 second. Can I just clarify something, right? Because of the fact that the 21st century feminists always want to quote Sojourner Truth and always want to use Seneca Falls speech as their backbone for their arguments, right? Ain't I a woman is the rolls over their tongues at any point they have. It's always essential to let them know that, hey, African Americans as a group were under complete slavery at the time. That's number one. There was still the most married race in America at the time. They still, and Sojourner Truth herself, the reason why she said, "Ain't I a woman?" was because they told her to keep quiet and not actually speak during the convention. So she even broke the protocol of the convention and tabled the speech.
By
Okay.
saying what she
Anyway,
said.
Sorry.
Yes.
Let me quickly throw in something. Sorry, let me quickly throw
So,
in something.
Mr. Ron, before you
Wait.
say something, Mr. Ron, I need to add this. Basically, white women told a black woman not to speak at the convention. Then she broke the protocol and still spoke and said, "Ain't I a woman?"
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so
now
it was
I want
white
to throw
women.
in. Okay, Alfred, hold on. I want to throw in one spanner. There's always this misconception that part of why feminism came was because they refused to allow they refused to allow women to vote. They refused to allow them to do certain things. Guess what? While we were researching, we found out that in Boston, is it 1865 or 1865 or 1875, when they held a referendum, they said, okay, women, do you want to vote? All of you come out and decide if you want to vote or not. Guess what? Women voted overwhelmingly against the privilege of voting. You know why? A lot of people don't understand. The reason why they voted against it was because in order for you to vote back then, voting carried certain responsibility. For instance, if there's war, you must be drafted. To your land, you need certain qualification to own land. 3, you must be serving certain hours as maybe a firefighter, police service, or something. So all these protocols were in place, and they said, you know what, we just rather be in. And by the way, at that time, black men were not allowed to vote. So it wasn't just a woman thing. Black men were not allowed to vote.
Black people in
as a
general.
I've been
Black
putting my
people
hand
were
up
not
for how
allowed
long?
to vote. Okay. Okay, so let's allow Memoon respond because I don't want it to look as if we're all raining down on her. She's the
No, no,
one
no, no,
giving.
no, no. It has nothing to do with me. I know what I'm speaking.
Okay.
The only thing is that we are sharing ideas. I do not feel rained down on. I just feel that if you are speaking to me, I would really like some time to respond so that
Yeah.
it
You have the floor.
doesn't
After
get
you,
too much. Now,
Emmanuel.
you see, the issue is this. Let me speak with what you have said last. Now, in Nigeria, when we were supposed to get independence, and they asked, we were supposed to have gotten our independence long before 1960, but the North refused. They said they were not ready. It is what we are still held. Is still held against us till today. It's in
That's
our
politics.
history book. Now, why I'm bringing that up is to say, counter this your point, that women, now, when you tell me that women did not voted against their own ability or their right to vote because they were going to be drafted, because they didn't have property at the time, because they were not allowed to have property at the time. I'm like, how else do you want me to vote? How else do you want me to vote? When I
Okay,
do, you have made the criteria. You have made
remove the property. Sorry, remove the property. Are we willing to
You
go to
have
war?
made the criteria. I cannot remove what you have said, please. You have made the criteria in which excludes me from the beginning. And then you now say that I should vote against. It doesn't work that way.
Sorry, women inherit land in America. I don't know what you're talking about.
If the
please
playing
allow me
field was
to make a
level,
point fully.
and then you say, let me vote, then you will now tell me how I voted. Now, let us go. One thing I do not like is for people to hammer on the name. I think what people do not like about feminism, most of all, is the name. Because if you tell me, you said maybe the first wave wasn't called feminism. There is no child that is born with a name. After a week or after a month, we now decide to give the child a name. Then we call that child by name. You don't tell me that because I gave birth to a child and that child was nameless at the time, when I decide to give him his name, then, I should throw it all away. No. Now, when we're talking about feminism, we're talking about the spirit of it. We're talking about the spirit of it. I can tell, and how I can take you back to history, because even when you're talking about religiously, on the part, there were women who were fighting wars, even in Islam, during the time of the Prophet. There were women were allowed a lot of privilege. They were allowed to ride horses, things that are not allowed today in Saudi. So you cannot now tell me that, because it was happening 200 or 2 millennia ago, and it is not happening now, it means that it's. I don't even understand the whole logic of it, honestly. I didn't get maybe because I was going in and out, I didn't get the train of the thought. Because it doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. These things, we all know that these things happen. And you tell me that it's because of financial reasons or because they do not hate the girl child. I'm not saying they hated the girl child. What I am saying is that they were not allowed. Well, for whatever reason, the reason. And then you now go to tell me that Islam, whether the men are not wearing what they want. Look, let me tell you, in ABU, I went to ABU Zaria. When I was in ABU, we were allowed to wear anything we wanted to wear. Girls could wear jeans, girls could wear miniskirts, girls still chose to wear hijab at that time. But today that I'm speaking to you, if you wear any of those things, it is a problem. They will not allow you go to class. They will not allow you enter hostel. They will not allow you enter places. So because it happened then during my time, I am now not going to say that, it is. I minimize what the girls are going through or their experiences in ABU today. I can't do that.
Okay, Maimuna.
My name is not Maimuna. Point of correction. That's not my name. My name is Maimun.
Maimun.
Edward, wait. Edward.
Do you know why?
Okay, so Kelly, quickly talk before then.
Yeah, no, I was just going to ask my beautiful sister Maimun. What are sisters not allowed to wear in ABU today?
I stated it now. Did I not state it?
I didn't hear it.
When I was speaking, I said it. They are not allowed to wear trousers. They are not allowed to wear what they want to wear. They are not allowed to wear what they want to wear.
Okay, maybe you understand why I asked the question now, right? Is that
I don't understand.
Because ABU
should women not be allowed to wear trousers?
Nigeria. Hold on, ABU is in Nigeria. So not wearing trousers, is it like a governmental law or a religious law? That's what I'm trying to get. I want to understand the difference. Is it the Constitution?
Is ABU a religious institution?
I think he's trying to find out if it was based.
You are not getting the point. Don't let. I'm asking you a question. Is it because I understand now? Pay attention to what I'm saying. Girls in Lagos wear trousers if they have to, right? I'm very sure that in that same ABU, guys are not allowed to wear skirts. Guys are not allowed to wear skirts. So we cannot then interpret that. We cannot then. Hold on.
Edward,
don't help me, please. Hold on. In that same ABU, men are not allowed to wear skirts. Should we then interpret that meaning men are oppressed and they are not allowed to wear what they want to wear? Do you understand? I hope you're getting the logic now. You are saying that it is a problem. You're not getting
you.
Hold on. Everyone, we have other people on the panel. They will listen to both. Women are not allowed to wear trousers in ABU. Therefore, women are not allowed to wear according to what they want to wear. Men are not allowed to wear skirts in ABU. Should I then say, therefore, men are not allowed to wear what they want to wear?
I'm sorry. Men are not allowed
before
to
you
wear
go, let me
I want to answer. I want to respond.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me respond.
Because it's directed at me.
Brother Ron, control
go on,
please.
So you see, the thing is this: men are not disallowed from wearing skirts. There is no systemic effort. There has been no meeting to whether they are
No,
allowed to wear
now
skirts
you're
or
being
not.
disingenuous. No, now you're not being realistic. You are being
Let me
disingenuous.
speak, please, Ron. Allow me to finish. Maybe you understand what I'm trying to
Mr.
say.
Ron, can I
You
also
understand?
table
Wait,
something
let her
before?
finish. Let her finish.
Allow me to finish. Maybe you understand what I'm trying to say. Not wearing skirts, right, by men is a national or a societal thing. It is not specific to an institution, because in Nigeria as a whole, it is frowned against. Men are frowned upon for wearing such dresses or that are deemed to be female. But in Nigeria as a whole, it is not frowned upon for women to wear trousers. So what I am saying is this: when we come to issues, we focus a lot on the woman. The men, their issues, it's not as if they don't have issues, but it is not a systemic, it is not an effort to limit them as a sex or as a gender.
No,
That's what I'm
that's
saying.
not right.
Hey, Ronald, just really quickly here, guys. I know,
Can
I
I
know you
just
guys
stop
all
you
want to go
before you
back and forth on
conclude?
this.
Mr. Tunde wants to speak. He hasn't been speaking. Mr. Tunde, go
Yeah,
on.
but can I?
Why is everyone
Because do you
so
know
Sorry,
what?
quickly,
I,
really quickly,
So
gentlemen.
I'm sorry.
I
Let me finish my
don't want
time
to.
with
I
this
don't
one.
want to speak about anything. So hold
Let
on.
me
Ron,
finish
can
my
you
time.
moderate
No,
this
you
thing, or
guys,
should I just
you guys
bounce?
can go on
wow.
back and forth for a minute.
Let
But I
Tunde
think
speak.
the question is this, guys. The original intent of the show is for us to talk about marriage.
I
We're
was
we're
gonna say
we are really, really distracting by going back and we can
honestly,
have a
Thank
conversation
you,
around
Mr. Tunde.
and a separate day
completely
and a
gone.
separate time, but it's completely gone left field here. This is not the purpose of this.
Exactly.
I agree. And that's why I wanted to say, let me finish, because what I have on screen here goes to the marriage issue, not the feminism issue. Now, what I want
Can
to
I,
say,
But it's
before you go,
influenced
But
it.
it's also
it's
not
a
Mr.
very
about
Ron,
the
short,
can you give
marriage
me
it's
issue.
1
very
minute
short,
before you
it's very
Edward,
finish,
short,
wait.
Maymoon?
and it
Oh,
will.
Edward, wait. Okay, continue, Maymoon.
Okay, it's very short as to the history of why and the reasons why marriage declined in society post 160. I'm going to read off the internet right now. Please permit me. It says
Who is your
in the
source?
in the 1960s, at the era when marriage within the African American community significantly declined, researchers note that the disparity between income and education levels amongst African American men and women, that's one, higher rates of homosexuality, imprisonment among men as factors contributing to the decline of marriage with the Black community. Additionally, women's decision or coping mechanism to focus on career and financial independence over marriage and the declining perception of the benefits of marriage altogether have also been listed. I took particular interest in the issue of perception when it comes to answering the question about why African Americans should. Now, what I am saying is that when it was stated, when it was read, it was made that it is feminism that brought about the decline in marriage. It is not. The decline in marriage had several
We can't
factors,
stop it now.
least of all being the woman. We are more of we are responding to what was placed before us, and that is what I'm trying to say. Marriage decline shouldn't be focused on the woman.
Okay, you know what?
We are
But just to
responding to
clarify,
what we find
You know what?
but there
ourselves.
was, but
You know
Ronald,
what?
there was no point
Hold
at
on,
which
let me clarify
anybody
something.
said that marriage declined because of feminism, though. I don't,
Yeah,
for us anyway, I've not
yeah.
heard that. I think what everyone has sort of suggested here is that marriage has declined for a variety of reasons. And I think you make a
Yes.
very good point when you said marriage, when you quoted that quote that you have there, incarceration of men, homosexuality, and etc., etc. I can't roll them off the top of my head. But what I can say is that I completely agree with that marriage is declined in the US, and that's a systematic issue. That's something that the US government intentionally put there to destabilize the Black society. So, of course, but when we think about the original point of the show, which is why is marriage the difference between being an individual in a marriage and being the family within a marriage, and the importance of both. Taking it back to that, I will say that marriage, in the way that we are trying to run it today, we've added so many things to complicate and make it seem awkward. We've thrown in, and I think where feminism keeps rearing its head in this conversation is that feminism has become something that we are adding into the pot around the concept of marriage. Marriage is a very different institution in itself. And there is a room for feminism in there, but it's not the reason which I want to really take away the concept of feminism when we start talking about whether marriage is working or not working. And I'll just leave it at that because I think we should get back on track, guys. Just my own opinion.
Maybe
Okay,
he's
so let's
trying to
no
say
no no no
certain
wait
aspects of feminism
wait. I'm coming.
influence.
Let's jump to Itsu. Okay, Emmanuel, he's been waiting patiently.
Babanyara.
Hi everyone, so good to see you. Compliments of the season once again.
Hello.
Let's be candid. The singular reason for the decline in marriage is number one. Men have lost their place. They do not know their place. We can take it back through history of World War II. World War II actually brought the rise of women going into the workplace. And during that period, women got into the industries and everything. And when men came back from the war, they had no job. And that brought a decline. So that has raised the second problem is that we have absent men. Men are not available for their families, they are not available to the women. In fact, when you listen to complain, is that I need his attention, he's not this, is that. Second problem is we've mentioned, most of you have mentioned today, is feminism. The fifth is that we've removed the God factor in our lives. God created a man to be he's the head of a woman, but he's a culture.
Hello, hello.
I thought it was just me.
His connection is
I
bad.
think it's bad connection. Okay, so let's allow Homosexy to quickly chime in. I'll
Yeah,
remove him
so
so that he can
Mr. Ron, please do away with this almost sexy word. It's kind of condescending.
Thank you. I've said it a lot of times. I've complained over and over, even when I'm on my life, that we are discussing
Sexy, I beg you. I beg you. I beg you. Since when? Since when?
Vex now.
I am not
Laura,
vexing,
you
but my
have
name is not homosexy.
Okay.
People that
You've
are being
never
called
rejected
homosexy
it.
in Nigeria are likes of Omotola and
He
people that
always blushes
they are
anytime
You've
we
following.
come
never
on.
rejected it until now. Why are you rejecting it
No,
now?
Buki don't say that.
What's
Nah,
gonna be?
Buki. No, ask him. Even on WhatsApp, I've chatted him. I have screenshots. Politely, I've said, Ron, my name is Omolara, not homosexy. I can go and bring it up
Okay.
for you.
So who gave you that name?
Kelly is here. Way back from the beginning, I'd always said to you, my name is Omolara, not homosexy. Even people that knows me in real life, they know you can't even call me Lara, let alone homosexy. I let it fly because I don't want it to be something that we're using as back and forth, you know.
Okay.
And that's why if you see any other person that says homosexy, I tell them, don't follow Ron's what's
Okay,
it
so
called?
you have 4 more minutes. You just wasted 1 minute.
No, I don't have 4 minutes. Let another person
We
talk.
did not ask you. Okay.
Oh,
Let
let
another person.
Omolara,
I've been listening to you
go
people
ahead.
Can I,
for 2 hours. So let somebody else.
Oh my
can I
Oh, yeah.
speak? Can I speak quick?
No.
2 minutes.
Let her talk. Let her
1
talk.
minute. 1 minute because I have to leave. I have to leave. Oh.
Okay.
I've got to go. Okay.
I have to leave, right? So Maimuna. Oh,
No.
okay,
Hey,
Maimun.
Moon.
Maimun,
Chai, my
sorry.
God.
Maimun, sorry, my bad. Right. So first things first, I wanted to address what you sorry. There's some background noise. I'll just mute that.
We can
First,
discuss feminism now, Edward. I hope that's not what you want to discuss.
I know, but first things, but she's mentioned she made, that's why I wanted to speak after her. So first things first, I want to say is this, right? even when you're talking about that you went to ABU Zaria, which I know very well because in fact my auntie is a professor in ABU Zaria. The first thing you should have first acknowledged is there is Queen Amina of Zauzo from Zaria, a queen that led her
A war
own kingdom into fighting wars.
was
That's the first thing. The second thing as well is this whole situation of the fact that you even mentioned when you were at university at the time, the women were allowed to wear and the girls were allowed to wear whatever they wanted to wear. So that means that the situationship that is happening right now is something that had just come up recently. It is not something that is historic to start with. And quite frankly, if you look at the entire situation in Nigeria, even when it comes to certain dress codes, Nigeria, as we are very conservative, we frown upon certain dress codes. You have never seen any minister of yours wearing wrapper as a man for any meetings. You have never seen
I mean, we
any
go out.
minister
That's why I told
of
you to stay off.
yours
Thank you.
as a woman wearing trousers to a meeting. It is something that our society historically does not look kindly on those two things. So for you to use that as a narrative for you to think that women are being oppressed, I think that's not the case at all.
Okay, that's it for that discussion of feminism. We'll
Yes.
do feminism versus humanism in 2 weeks, not now, so that
Okay.
Benin can fully address all
Okay.
your questions, all your confusions and everything. She will address.
Yes.
Okay,
So with
so
regards to marriage, well, since I am not married myself, with regards to marriage, I don't have much input I
okay.
can put
Oh yeah,
in.
since you're not married, press the mute button now. Oh yeah,
Yes,
everybody,
thank
press
you.
it now. Press it quickly, quickly. Press the button.
Tunde is
All
muted.
right,
Okay.
all right. So where's okay, the it's
Omolara.
difficult. It's difficult to this thing is down. You have to give me like 2 months to practice. Okay, speak. Make it not be like say I use name pursue you. You are muted, Lara.
I can hear you. I'm not talking.
You are still angry.
The person that was speaking, I just finished speaking, and I was waiting for you to land, so I can hear you very well.
Okay, okay, we've landed. Oh yeah, you have the floor now.
So I don't know which of the topic to attend to now.
No,
Whether it's
talk
to
about
debate.
why marriages. Selfish couple or
Look
selfless,
at
selfless
consequence.
beauty. Follow the topic, please. Follow the topic.
Okay. I mean, for anyone that understands the concept of marriage, marriage is actually not just about the romance. It's a duty. It's a commitment to one another, and it
Exactly.
is in the course of the commitment that a book like the Holy Bible says that the two of you becomes one. Because once you are 100% committed to one person,
Mm-hmm.
simply means you are in sync with each other. So, I mean, not trying to play down the romance in marriage between husband and wife. The whole concept of marriage, when you look at it, when you get together and you become selfless, you put the needs and the wants of the other person not more than yours, but on the same level as your own needs and your wants. Then children, hopefully you are lucky to get the gift of children from God. Then you have children now in your marriage. I mean, I was still just saying to my daughter and her friend this morning that the moment you start having children, you no longer have your own life. You no longer have your career. So to me, marriage is just once you go into marriage, you have given up your own, you have be giving up yourself, your wants, you coming first is now something that is fantasy, like the world that we live in now, what they preach. Even though you're in a relationship, your happiness matters. Boys, if you don't want to go off PS5 for the rest of the holiday,
Hmm.
let's share this space together. I'm begging you. Thank you. sorry, unlike what is being sold now to our Gen Z, Gen whatever that they are, not disputing the fact that my happiness matters, my joy matters, my mental health matters. The moment I decide to go into a marriage or any or a serious relationship, it, my husband and my children had become as important as I am. In short, when it comes to the children, they come before you in most cases. So what I'm saying is, you cannot say because, oh, you are going through a lot, you're this, you're that, you not attend to the kids first, or you not attend to the needs of the kids first. So I don't think marriage is something that we can even say is all about. No, it's not a selfish romance to the couple, or it's a selfless duty to your family. That's what marriage is, in my own understanding. And it continues because you'd even, I mean, it's in phases, you know. So you have when you have the children growing, primary school, secondary school, then they go off to uni. Then you have that space with you and your husband or wife that is just the two of you. You think you're taking a break. But then when they even start making children, and then the grandchildren comes again, and you find yourself as a couple repeating almost what you had done with your children. It may not be 100% now, but then you still like see yourself being a part of your grandchildren's life. So it's a duty that once you start, you are in it for the rest of your life. Of course, this is in a proper marriage and family setting. We have some people these days that you just said that I got married last mom, I got married 1 month ago, you know. So of course, a mom that didn't know about your dating or you're getting married may not be part of your life when you start having grandchildren and all. But in a proper marriage setting, marriage is a selfless duty to your family for the rest of your life. My
Sorry, I usually don't clap for Molara like this, but anytime since last week, Molara, this, you know, anyway, don't worry. Since last week, she's been dropping serious bombs.
take.
Like,
Ron, I'm just going to address that because you said it last week again. I think you're the one with the problem here. You need to understand each
I'm the
individual
problem
for
now.
who they are.
No, but I'm the
So,
problem.
so your
I'm
misunderstand
admitting.
your misunderstanding my kind of person is honestly not my cup of tea.
That's what I'm saying. I'm
That's
the
your
problem. Now,
Okay,
Yes,
now,
Mr.
Mr.
Ron.
Ron, you have a
Mr.
problem.
Ron,
You have better problem.
Mr.
my
Ron, you
problem.
have successfully derailed us again. Let's get back on track.
Okay, no, but
So
honestly, I have to
just
comment. I really appreciate her contributions. It was very,
so,
very
Mr. Ron, can I quickly talk about what I consider to be a circle in the marriage institution? And when we start to think about it from an individual basis to a family base, that is about the community, you know, the whole family and the service that it relates to it. So first and foremost, you take a man and a woman. Important to understand that you come from two different families. And these two different families have got their own ideals that they've put in you. They've instilled certain characters into you, characteristics into you. Hopefully, they've done a good job in showing you or teaching you the impact of what family looks like. So it starts off initially as the family impacting the children that they're bringing up. To Ms. Malara's point, you know, you spend some time and effort into raising your children, and those children become full-fledged adults in their own right, and then get married. Hopefully, by the time they're getting married, and again, all of what we're saying is in a perfect world, because life is not perfect. You know, scenarios can happen. So at that point, you then go into being married to somebody else who's from a different family structure from you, and you have to get through the process of knowing each other, understanding each other, getting to a place where you learn how to coexist within your different worlds that have now collided. The goal is there's an individual phase of that period. That individual phase is not a forever phase. That individual phase of trying to blend and adapt into one another's lifestyles and the way that you live, the way you think, and what works best for your family. After that, then you repeat that process again. Children starts to come in, and you start to invest your time and your effort in those children. Don't forget this, though, that by the time you start investing that time and effort in your children, it is still very, very important to also be intentionally individual about it as well. Individual in the sense that a lot of families raise their kids, forget about themselves, and when the kids leave home, they have nothing to talk about. Their relationship is now in a serious problem. They've not had time to really think about themselves. So there's an individual aspect to it, to making sure that you keep your relationship going while you are in that period of that act of service at the same time. So when that period then comes to an end, the kids move on. Then again, your service does not end at that point. Your service is also to your children. Some people just think about their children that, by the time you are 18 or 21 or 22, you finish from university, you can go and thank you very much. In an ideal world, just my own opinion, I think that your job is actually more. We as people think that our job is the most important when our kids are like at a certain age where they are very young. Your kid is 3-year-old, 0 to maybe 4, when they are just getting themselves get ready for life. You're potty training, you are doing all the bits and bobs. Yes, they're important. I actually think another phase that's incredibly important is, my own opinion, between the age of 21 and 30. Really, because so often we think of it as, they're young adults, they can get on with it. Now, that's fine. But to me, I think that stage is where young adults truly need guidance. And so your act of service in being a parent in that instance is also continuous and very important. Then you take that further, then these children that we're having start to have children. And when they start to have children, if you are if you're a family that you all understand the concept of how you live together, work together, help one another, you will find that that act of service continues into that. You see sometimes some grandfathers, when they are now retired, they're the ones taking the children to school. In certain contexts in the West here, you see that the most successful families are where the parents start to step in and be influential in their grandchildren's lives, which allows the parents to go on and do that run that they need to do at that stage in life. So I will conclude by saying that the act of service aspect of it never ends. The individual side as well never ends, because if you're a man or a woman and you've never really invested the time and effort into pouring into your wife, pouring into your husband, and making them feel valued, making them understand that this journey, we're doing it together. If you've never really, and it takes a while for a man, I speak from a man's perspective now, to understand that idea that it is your responsibility to make sure that your home works I'll say that it's not everything that's always perfect. Sometimes you can find that, you can have a disagreeable partner or somebody. But let's say in the perfect world, continue to be the best version of yourself that you can be to your spouse. If you are that, then you'll find that the service aspect of your marriage becomes easier. So that's just where I wanted to put it, that it starts with service, ends with service, but along the way, continue to be individual and intentional in making sure that your marriage is watered and given the love and attention that it truly deserves. You're on mute, Mr. Ron. Don't call as well when you talk.
I had to break the clapping rules because, again, Tunde, anyway, that's why I actually invited, because I know there's something up there which you can tap from. Very good. But I'm going back to Omolara's comment, which was very insightful and very, very, you know what, Omolara, next week, make sure you're the first person here. I don't care whether you're going to farm or you're going to see anybody. First person, you must be here next week, because now you go start off the topic next week. You cannot be wasting
God
all
keep
this.
us beyond. I will try.
You cannot be wasting this wisdom somewhere else. You must bring it here. You must bring
I
all.
Why
don't go
are you blushing with
far.
Ron? You are talking to Ron and you are blushing. Why?
She said,
Kelly, don't get me started. You and I are in this Lagos. I've not seen my Christmas gift. Don't even, please stop. You know,
"You
these
don't even
plenty
send me
people
your
here, they
forgiveness.
don't know me.
You
It's my
Omara,
first time of meeting them.
That
Don't
has
spoil
to
my
be after the
reputation.
show, Omolara. You
Mr.
can
Omolara,
go
Tunde and Maymoon, I don't know them. So just leave it.
Omra, don't be talking to me anyhow in public. You are not respecting me. How do you want everybody to respect me? Baby.
Where is
Ah.
Buki?
Make una do my
Anyway,
finger.
today, thank you for bringing things back into perspective because we really went off on a,
Yeah, I didn't know what you guys were discussing anymore.
I
I
mean,
was
we
like,
really
okay.
lost what we initially started the program with, which is selfishness in marriage and so on. And thank you for bringing us back to where we really should be in marriage, is what we were initially speaking about, and how feminism and all this got into. I think that there are aspects of feminism that has influenced in a wrong way,
Yeah,
negative way.
Buki. Sorry, Binta, if I may interrupt you actually.
Ah,
I
wait.
I find it
Hold on,
difficult
hold on. Let me
to
greet my Oga. Let me greet my Oga. Yeah, welcome, sir.
Military salute.
No. This is a serious Oga that I have to seriously
Oh my
greet.
soul.
He only sees spirit in
We didn't
daytime, very
get
rare
this.
occasion.
None of us got this kind of welcome at
No,
all.
you won't understand. When somebody is a two-star general, it's difficult to understand.
Do we stand and
So
salute with two
you missed
hands?
it. Next week we'll do it. Like you missed it already. You missed it already. So
okay.
okay,
Well
I
done,
wanted to
Okay,
sir.
say
Molara,
something.
say what you have to say.
Ambalara, say what you want to say then. Oga will say then.
Well,
Oga Emmanuel will say again.
go
So
ahead,
Ambalara
sis.
say.
Go ahead, sis.
So what I was trying to say is that it will be very difficult for us to really deal with the topic at hand and not talk about the effect of the so-called modern feminism
Uh-huh.
on our marriages and families.
It
It will
has
be very
influence.
difficult.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that we should just go. I'm
No,
not
no, no, no. I
saying
know
a
to just
rabbit.
No, no.
derail
Okay,
from the
I have a
topic because
solution. I have a solution.
Mr.
I've
Tunde
decided
may
that.
mention the point.
Sorry, sorry.
Yeah.
I've decided that in 2 weeks' time, in honor of May Moon, such a lovely,
No,
pleasant. Oh, hey,
not,
T, let me
not
talk.
in that
Are you the moderator? Are you
He's
the moderator? Why are you talking over me?
exactly.
Relax now. So in honor of May Moon, our very beautiful sister, we are going to, in 2 weeks' time, we are going to discuss womanism and feminism. Go and read, though. Don't come and be telling me that you can't think about it. You will read and come here in 2 weeks' time. You will study, you do research, you'll come back here. So I hope that is fair enough so that
You
it
know,
will be like,
Amalara, I really think that a lot of women, this so-called modern thing, have lost respect for the head of the house, which is the man. They've lost complete respect, and that is very sad. You know.
You see, you cannot respect the man of the house that you do not see as the head of the house, as your head. Is like I used to say, turn down that volume. The concept of marriage, the way God it
The
cannot be
traditional.
diluted or edited. Where is feedback? I think Memu needs to mute our mic.
continue, continue, continue.
Yeah, cannot be diluted or be amended or be edited. It is
Mm-hmm.
either we follow the constitution as the creator had made it, or we keep
Exactly.
getting it wrong. There is no shortcut to it. And this is what I'm speaking about. It, the concept of marriage, to my understanding, is man, love your wife like thyself as the Christ loves the church.
And women.
Turn down the volume. And wife, in so doing, sorry, I have boys. This is what men turns you to these days.
That's a cheap shot,
So,
though. That
I
was a
hear
cheap
you.
shot. Okay.
In making
so,
lovely points,
so
you're also throwing shots. Go ahead.
no. So in that line, when you now bring your modern feminism, and I must just bring this in. I said a couple of months ago to Kelly, I said I am a feminism, but it didn't allow me explain myself. Sorry, I am a feminist, but it didn't allow me explain myself.
Two
The
You
weeks
are
time.
word
brave
2 weeks.
for the
feminism,
leap. I know they
feminism,
marry feminists, so I know they marry feminists. Go on.
I'm not looking for. I'm not your wife. Yeah, the word
Every minute,
feminism
why
in
do
the
you
first
guys
place.
keep interrupting me?
What did you
There's
just
no
say?
ever
Like,
mention my name again. No mention my name. The violence
You
has
don't
Stop
started.
want to
fighting
No
again.
marry
mention
me.
my name ever
Mr.
again.
Tunde, help me
Omolara,
now.
you
I don't
have
like
Hey,
what you said
anyway,
now.
at will. When it's not going with your program, you drop Kelly. When it's going with your program, you will be. What is
Okay,
Because
it?
he has refused to
You're not
propose.
a
After
committed
20 years,
woman.
he has not proposed. Anyway,
please, let's allow
please,
Oga talk. Let's allow Oga talk because we are even running out of
let
time.
me finish now.
Okay, I finish
All
quickly.
right, wrap it up, sweetie
Wrap
pie.
it up. Wrap it up.
No, I won't wrap it up. I've been listening to you people for like 3 hours.
Hey,
Oh,
Okay,
Emma
let Oga talk.
Gbemini,
Okay,
not
let Oga
sleeping.
talk. Then you talk about
Let me
feminism. Then.
finish. Then he can talk on top of my points.
Okay, talk. Oh yeah, talk.
Ah. So what I'm trying to say is the definition of or what being a feminist was from the get-go is completely different from what your so-called feminism or feminist that you have today. It's completely different.
we know
So
that.
if you take the word, sorry,
We
if you
agree.
take the word, yeah, if you come out now and you say you are a feminist, it does not matter where you're coming from. Everyone has this understanding of being a feminist is, oh, who is the man? I can do better than a man. What a man can do, a woman can do better, and all of those kind of stuff that it is now. And taking it back to my initial line of thought, this is where we are having problem in this topic that we're discussing, because the moment we take the constitution of marriage away from what is supposed to be, in as much as I'm not a slave to my husband, the fact remains that the man is the head of the family. We're
Exactly.
supposed to work together as a partner. We're supposed to compromise. We're supposed to talk and come to an agreement in all subjects, in all aspects. So when I was growing up, we all know that if we want anything, we'll go to grandma, and grandma will know how she will take it to grandpa, and grandma will know how she will cajole
Package.
grandpa behind the closed door. But they will still come out to be on the same page to we, the children and the grandchildren. We never see grandma argue with grandpa publicly, which after so many years, looking back, I'm sure they must be doing a lot of argument behind closed doors, because a lot of times when grandpa gives his verdict, grandma has a way. We don't know how she does it. It could take 1 month, it could take 2 weeks, but she has a way to bring grandpa to the table again to reason and say, okay, I will come down this, da. So the point I'm trying to make is the moment we have taken feminism or feminist from what is supposed to be from the beginning and turn it to what we have now, which is, why should I respect a man? Who is a man? Even when there is no need for it, even when they have met a reasonable man who actually has what it takes to be the head of a relationship, because they have been programmed in their head that they're in competition with the man. Don't get me
It's
wrong, they may
it's
love this man. In most cases, it's not just about love, but because in my head, I've seen it that, okay, so you are my husband. What? Why should I respect you? Or why should I kill myself over making you happy? You can make money, I can make double. You can travel, I can travel. You can, whatever. This is one of the reasons why it is very difficult these days to put into both our men and women. Not that men don't have their own as well, but since I'm rushing to round up, I'll focus on the women. Not the men don't have their own issue as well, but because most of the women that are out there now, sadly, my generation, above my generation, the ones behind me, the virus has spread so widely amongst women these days that they had actually forgotten that. And I don't have a problem with you being a feminist these days, but don't bring it into your marriage or into your relationship, because the concept of marriage cannot be amended, edited to suit us now. The way it is, old school is always present school when it comes to the issue of marriage. In order for the rate of divorces and bad relationship to reduce, we need to go back to the initial concept of what and how marriage should be.
yeah.
And we get into that initial concept and what and how marriage should be. The bulk work in this starts with my gender. First of all, because I see a lot of women, we have to remove it from our head. We're not in competition with our men.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I see
Exactly.
a lot of
Amen.
I see a lot of our women. They complain, my boyfriend is this. When they talk, go here, talk, go there. Just like, you're not in competition with this man. At the end of the day, he is the man. Okay, so if he is misbehaving or is not stepping up to the level of being the man, then you find a way to sit him down, you discuss it, make him see that, look, oh bros, you are supposed to be the head, but with this your behavior and this, you are actually putting yourself under me. But because the women, they're already on the defensive, So that's why you see they say, oh, they've been in a marriage for 12 years, the marriage is broken. But then when you talk to the man or the woman, they actually have been flatmates for 10 years out of the 12 years, because of what the society would say. So that's why I said that this topic that we're discussing, it's very difficult for us not to go a little bit into this aspect. And that's also what makes me to agree with what Mr. Today said in terms of selfishness in the relationship. Why you're focusing on, because I'm already thinking, oh, is my husband, is any this I can do, da, 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 da. Then my attention immediately shifts from my husband, what makes him happy, what makes us happy, the moment a child comes into it. So the little attention, the little love that I have, I put it on myself and on the child or our children. And before you know what is happening, the marriage itself, that is the foundation that has brought about the family, is suffering. So because I have to go, I'll
Thank
leave
you.
it there.
Yeah, you need to talk after the show. I'm really proud of you, honestly. I'm proud. And today, please, can you just allow me 2 more weeks just to call our sex? Just 2 more weeks, I beg. I'll stop after 2 weeks. I promise.
No, Ronald. I think that ends today. I think, especially if she's a married
All
woman,
right.
cannot be. If she's a married woman, I can't keep saying
I
that.
shouldn't have invited you, honestly. All right. So, Oga Kayode, come and give us one or two.
All right. So I was just watching on YouTube, and then I saw how Omolara was telling you she doesn't like something, and you're still joking about it. That's a no-no. All right. But that's actually why I decided, okay, let me come on. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. So I went back to the question that before, because
I see Oga Kayode has won a fan now. You see how he threw petrol.
looks like he
He's
went
trying
off.
to stop fire.
Calm down. It looks like you guys went off topic a few times, right? So I had to actually go back to the question and copy it so that I will read it out to make sure that maybe I don't have things mixed up. The question here is marriage a selfish romance to the couple or selfless duty to the family? Correct? Is that
Correct.
okay? So then, interestingly, as you were talking, I now realize that again, and this is expected. Everybody's talking from their own perspective. So Omolara is talking from the perspective of the Bible, and as far as she's concerned, in her whole world, the Bible is everything. But then, not everybody is a Christian. No. I mean, when you were talking, right? You said as a creator made it, and what you were saying goes along. It goes along. So maybe that's not what you intended. When I was hearing it, what I was hearing is the perspective of somebody who has learned or viewed the world from the Bible. And that's
no. You don't. Okay, you are just me. No. Let me clarify that. No,
I said that's what I perceived. That might not have been your intention.
No, hang on. Let me clarify that. Take whichever, most of the common religion in the world, even Islam, that they're claiming that says God says marry 5 if you can love them equally. The concept of marriage in almost all religion, society, and culture are very, very similar. There is no society or culture that does not acknowledge the fact that the man is the head of the home. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well,
that is the angle.
Yes.
Hold on. That is the angle which I'm coming from, even though I am a Christian. So I'm not perceiving things from the Christianity way, or that everything in the world is just about Christianity. No. When you talk about marriage, look at it from any angle whatsoever you want to look at it. Traditionally, culturally, Islamic, Buddhist, atheist, 7 days Advent, whatever. There is that similarity. Yeah, faith. There is that similarity of what the home should be. There is that similarity of what marriage should be, which we are far from it these days. That's just what I'm saying.
Okay,
Ogaka, they continue.
All right. So I was hearing that perspective mostly come out from there, and that the way you grow up is the way you see the world. It's the lens with which you see the world, right? And listen to Maymoon, I could hear from her lens, right? But then I now started to think that this whole thing, marriage, right? When I look at it, what I see is that society demanded some form of relationship that we later termed marriage. That's the interesting thing about it, is that we were living our lives on our own in Africa, right? And we had a form of marriage. That's actually how this whole Christianity, religion generally came up when the generation of my grandfather.
I think you can tell us how it was before Christianity.
Yes, no, that's where I'm going. I'm trying to go back to, I'm just trying to give you points in time. So it was around the time of my grandfather that they started saying converted from whatever the religion was to either Christianity. We had some that converted. But before that time, there was a family unit, and it had mothers in the house, and it had a father in the house, actually. So polygamy is where I came from, right? Way down. Before religion came and started to tell us how marriage should be. But it was designed by whatever lens those who wrote those books saw it from, right? And so they now brought their own way of family unit, which actually is an evolution of society. Wherever you live, there is some form. If you go to the mountains, the places where they've not interacted with our social people that they are discovering, there are still areas where they're just discovering people in that society. When you interact with them, the society has organized themselves in such a way that there are relationships that are the equivalent of what we call
marriage today.
A marriage.
Yeah, but where the discussion is what was the structure of that pre-Christian?
That structure was based on society. I'm trying to establish some ground.
But what is the structure? The structure still maintains man is the head.
No.
Man is the head. Thank you.
Ronald, please let him finish. Yeah. We can't keep having this kind of interruptions.
Okay, finish.
Right. So the structure of society demanded that the humans in that place structured themselves around something we now interpret to be family. That's how it was. So the core of all what we're doing, the waking up every day, going to work, saving 401k, is just so that we can survive, so that we can have food to eat, really, and a place to sleep. That's what it's all about. How that has evolved over time. You throw in a whole lot of very nice sounding things, but at the core of it, you are trying to actually survive, get food and shelter. That's it. So, yes. So in those other places where they have not, in quotes, discovered our civilization, which is not necessarily a good thing. Civilization itself, I mean, what we call civilization, they are still structured in such a way that they provide food and shelter for a unit.
Successful.
Yes. No, that's why I said our so-called civilization might not actually be a positive thing, right? And they have done this for generations. Of course, until we, in our arrogance, because of Western education, will go and say we discovered them. What an insult to a group of people who have been surviving well without us. Yes. And next thing is that because we are now wiser than those who have existed independently, we now want to go and tell them how to live their life in their environment. That's what resulted in marriage, this concept of marriage being structured over time. And now we have we have the reality of the problems that are a fallout of the reorganization. So we reorganize for good, but forget that for every good thing you create, there are always side effects. Forever. Anything you create, there will be side effects, right? So these things we talk about, that it evolved from being organized as a society for survival of the community to, over time, oh, you don't even need that anymore. How about you do it for love? Now, that definition of love, if we ask 6 people here, we'll have 6 different interpretations of that word love, but we all use the term love. Love of self, love of family, we now even have adjectives qualified. So here's the thing. Baseline, look at that. My college brother is signing in. Baseline, this whole concept of marriage, right, is based on society. Society is constantly evolving. So marriage and the need for it is going to constantly evolve. In fact, right now, society has evolved to the point where if I want to have kids, I do not need to actually get married to have a kid anymore. if I want to do so, if I want, what were the other things? Oh, if I want, now let me also explain that a
Okay,
man.
we've jumped, and you've still not
Then we
addressed it.
shouldn't complain about what marriage is today.
Sorry,
We should just go with the
No,
evolvement or
yeah, so I'm talking
evolving of
about.
the marriage.
That's why the first thing I established was tying the reason why it existed. At least as far back as my own great grandfathers, it was part of society. It was part of the community. It was actually how the community was able to sustain themselves.
No,
But
sorry,
and
that's
that's
not
what
the question. No, that's not the
But the
question
man
I'm
was
asking.
still the
I'm
head
coming
of the
straight
family.
now. Let me
No,
ask the
the
In
question.
those
question here.
communities,
Sorry,
in those,
the question
let
here
me
says.
ask you, Kayode,
The question here says, is marriage a selfish romance to the couple or selfless duty to family?
So,
Okay,
I am
now
establishing the fact
Kayode,
that
let me
way
ask you
before
Kayode,
marriage was redefined according to religion and in quote education, that
it was
marriage was actually about community. It was about
okay,
about
no,
sustaining
that's
the
not the
community.
question I'm asking. Sorry,
in these
wait,
communities, let me just
Sandra,
ask
please.
this, Ron. In those communities that you're speaking about, were
Yes,
men the head of those constructs?
yes,
That's
men were
what
the head of the
that's
construct.
That's what we're
Omolora is
saying.
saying.
Yes,
That
no, but
men
that's not what
were
the question
still
for the show
No.
was.
predominant.
I mean, based on your own contribution, we're trying to, even though you brought that Christianity came before Christianity, men
Yes,
were the head.
yes,
Prehistoric time, men were the head of the family. That's all
that's
I'm just
correct.
trying to say.
Right,
I'm
right,
not
right.
disputing your evolution theory. It's
Yes,
correct. You're
So
actually
yes.
correct.
Omolora is
We
saying
see
the
it
same
every day.
thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what we
Oh,
just want
actually,
to
I think
But
everybody's saying
my
the same
point
thing,
is,
but
no,
I
but
think
Mr.
everybody.
But Mr. Kayode, you said, because why me I keep saying doing this was that you made it look or sound like, to me, I may be wrong, that my saying that the concept of marriage is the same everywhere is not. The fact that a man has 5, 6, 7 wives still did not change the fact that can I use the word hierarchy? I didn't want to use the word hierarchy. That the way the marriage constitution is said is for the man to be the head.
The head, yeah.
That's just all I'm saying. The man is the head, and you, as the wife, you have to find a way, because he is the head. This does not justify what most of our men are doing today. You, as the wife, either wife 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever, has to find a way to reach a compromise with your husband, with your head. You have to put it in your head that this man, you're not in competition with him. As to what we have these days, because bring out, I kid you not, I don't know where you all live. I live in Lagos, bring out 10 Nigerian women today. They believe at the back of their mind, like they may not even, some of them don't even realize it. They behave like they're in competition with their husband. And that is what is bringing most of the problems we have today.
That's the
That's just what
evolution, guys.
need.
Okay, that's the
That's the
evolution
evolution he's talking about.
that child is
As
explaining.
society evolves, right? Marriage also is evolving. It cannot
It's
help but
affecting
Agreed,
marriage.
but then you also think that, but then that means that, like I said, the concept of marriage cannot be diluted. So if we want to have what we had, like when Mr. Kayode was growing up, where even though there are other wives, there is still order and sanity in the concept of marriage. Everybody knows where they belong. Everyone try to live together in agreement and harmony and communication, which we don't have now. In order for us to get back to that place where we are, we still have to go back to the way things were done, and this evolution we are having now cannot work.
So in a very fast evolving world, my question would be, how do we hold on to that traditional or before all of this evolving of societies happen in an extremely fast evolving world? How do we
evolve? I'll ask Mr.
Sandra, unfortunately,
how do we evolve in the right direction?
Unfortunately,
how do we
right?
control that? How do we have that control?
So I want to answer that. Unfortunately, you have a few people who are like, I'm not going to touch social media, right? All right. So I work in technology. At a point in time when the smartphone came out, I was like, I am not going to buy this smartphone until it became impossible for me to function in society
without it.
Yes.
And it's
just so whether you like it or not, right?
Exactly.
The thing that makes us the highest or the most intelligent beings is because we are able to evolve and very fast. That's what distinguishes us. Have you thought? Let me just throw it out there. Have you thought of the fact that when you fry an egg and you put some chicken in there, you are eating the mother and the child? Has it ever crossed your mind?
Yeah, I think of it.
No.
You know what I think of it? When I think of it is when I have
Tunde, are you okay? Because you kind of choking.
fried rice with
Yes.
grilled chicken. I
Yes.
think of it when I have egg fried rice with grilled chicken. I'm like, Omolara, onje ya onjomo.
Yes.
You know,
So,
like.
but it's okay. It is only okay because we are the most intelligent human beings that can get away with it. If any species did it to us, we will actually gather together. This whole global wars will stop. We'll gather together to attack that particular enemy. The same way we did with the virus that was beginning to take us out. You did not hear anybody fighting any war at that time. Oh. Everybody stopped. They brought their best minds that we must first be alive first before we can now turn on each other. Right? So what I'm trying to say is that why I give you that example is that evolution, an individual cannot stop it. It is how we were, this is how we appeared, right? This is how we appeared on the scene whenever we appeared. You know, there are different versions of when we appeared and all that. But it is over time, from the time we appeared in any of the books that you read, or till now, you have witnessed the fact that things have evolved. We are talking from different parts of the world, real time, you know, an impossible feat. In fact, the only people who did this before are my great-grandfathers, that they'll give you a bowl and the person's face will appear in the bowl, right? But then the people who came and told us that our ways are bad, they basically shut that down.
Exactly.
We can't be ahead of them. So they now took time to basically build the infrastructure which we had surpassed. But let's not even go off on a tangent, all right? But what I'm trying to say is that the evolution of society, marriage was a result of society being able to survive. You are going to find out, which you're now fighting against, that all the reasons for getting together have now been outsourced. There are other ways to get those things. And so you're going to find that more and more people will choose to go the way of outsourcing to get what they need. You had to have the whole package to be able to get a few things that you really wanted and leave with the other things that you did not want. We have evolved now that you do not need to actually take the things you don't want. You can take only the things you want. It's the reason why marriage has evolved, where the woman now wants to choose only what she wants, because nobody wants everything. The man too does not want everything, but you had to take the whole package to get the good things that you needed. You wanted kids, you needed the husband, you needed the family unit. Men can sometimes, some men too will say, I want a son. So then they will pick. And then if the woman is not bearing what he needs, guess what he does? He starts to look for somebody else who can give him what he needs till he gets what he needs. Now, science makes it possible for you to get all these things outsourced and pick only the good things. So now we are more about, what do I really want? That's what the society has evolved into. I drove to the airport, I took an Uber back and realized that, oh my goodness, I'm in a city where I don't know anybody. That used to be a no-no. Who's going to help you if you need to go to the airport? Who's going to drop you off? Who's going to pick you up? We have invented Uber, right?
Uber or directions.
How do you wave down a taxi? We've invented the phone. The taxi, guess what, will come to you. You don't have to send somebody to the roadside to go and wave down a taxi. We were hailing all these things as part of evolution. Guess what? Marriage is evolving. There's nothing we can do to stop it. Nothing. It's the reason why it has evolved in some place where they now say man can be in love with a man.
Just real quickly, I would just say, so just really quickly, Miss Sandra, just real quickly, I think that when we start talking about marriage, I think that, you know, marriage is evolving. I completely agree with the concept that marriage is evolving. But I think that there are key basics about marriage that, however much marriage evolves, will remain the reasons why marriages are successful be it in terms of from a loving perspective to the individual, to the service aspect of things, to the, we take it back to the original question that what is marriage? Is it an individual love or is it a service aspect of it? If you look at a man, and I think one of the general consensus so far was that we are saying that a man is a head of a home. And I know we've also talked about the feminist aspect of how that affected marriage and so on and so forth. But let me make a bold statement out there and say this. The minute a man is not able to provide for his family, you very, very, very quickly lose that idea or that aspect of the fact that you think that you're the head of a home. That is at the core of all of it. That provision that you're, as you know, you have a wife. She wants to know that there's a place that she's going to come back home to sleep. She needs to know that there's provision. She needs to know that her children are safe. And you take away anything that can destabilize that scenario, then very quickly, the whole concept of what we consider as marriage is going to fall very flat on its face very, very quickly. So the ability to provide from a man's perspective is hugely successful. In fact, let me put it like this, right? If you're a man, you're able to provide the very best of everything for your family. The concept of whether or not your wife is a feminist does not even come into the equation at all. Mm-hmm. At all. It becomes a pointless conversation at that point because, but that's a different conversation. But what I would say is this, is that how can we evolve as life and everything around us evolves? To me, I think what we can be looking to do is to make sure that we equip men that decide to go down the marriage pathway with as much as possible to be successful, expose them to so many things, give them the ability to understand how you can have multiple sources of income, multiple streams of income, to make sure that you simplify the challenges that marriages can have if you're not able to be a good provider. I think that's one way that we can look at it. There are all the other aspects that make marriage challenging and all of that. But if you're going to think about it from a service perspective, you really need to think about how you can consistently, if God permits you, you have to think about how you can consistently provide for your family, or else marriage can become very tough very quickly. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Sorry, let me just add, Sandra, one thing I want to add. If as horrifying as what Oga Kayode stated clearly here about the evolutionary trend, there's something that is going on now, and it has been going on in society ever since history. Anytime things go south and it progresses in that direction, for some reason, it gets to a point where society resets itself again. And I'll explain what's going on now. When you go on YouTube now, you'll find that a lot of people, men, including women, are kicking against these horrific things we're talking about. Why? Statistics being provided by CDC and every other statistic banks we have in the world today are telling us now to our face that children who don't grow up in this home where man and woman, wife exist tend not to do, majority of them, not all of them, according to statistics, majority of them don't do well. They are susceptible to suicidal ideation. They are susceptible to crime. They are susceptible to giving up in life. Like, okay, they don't have this thing now, and this brings the need, the real question: why do we have a woman? Why do we have a man in a unit? If you like, call it anything you like. Civil union. I'm like, wait now. I'll bring you. Just hold on 1 second. Why do you have a man? Why do you have a woman? The man is there to provide, protect, and enforce discipline in that, right? Now, he is the we always say mostly they are the logical aspect. Then we have the emotional aspect, the wife, the mother, the one who cares, who nurtures, who teaches that infant the ways of life from that infant stage. I believe personally that these two elements are very important in the upbringing of any human being. Any human being. So we can wander away and start misbehaving now and start doing social marriage or contractual partnership and all that. One thing I can guarantee you, it might be the next 20 years, it might be the next 30 years. We'll still come back and evaluate what we've just done and see.
Ron, you missed one important thing, but finish. And
Okay.
let me out.
So we're still going to come back and reevaluate what we've done, and which I agree with you. We are moving towards that trend because what brought about this topic is the way that people are now glorifying divorce on social media. The idea that people can just divorce and throw a party, the idea that embittered people can come on social media and be advising young women or young men who are not even married yet of marriage yet. You're already advising them that marriage is scam, marriage is a terrible place to be in, and thereby sending the wrong signals already. And guess what? Who are the people doing it? They are the most influential people in society because not only our race, they gravitate towards celebrities, sportsmen, influencers. Those are our role models. While other race people have serious-minded people influencing them, we are the only ones that go with idols, celebrities, and all that to tap knowledge from. Not knowing that these people we're even looking up to are not necessarily the brightest of them all in our race. They are not, in fact, they are not so many. Celebrities are not many. Not all celebrities are bright. In fact, a majority of them are not bright. So I don't know why we always gravitate towards their dictates. And this is why I've always been like, if we don't stand up and say, okay, listen, we are going in the wrong direction, it will come and bite us. If the statistics is saying that the rise of crime or criminals, juvenile crime and criminals is as a result of broken homes, then we need to sit down and think about it. Because if we turn our backs and say we don't need to say anything, tomorrow I can just be walking in an alleyway and somebody will stab me. And it stabs me because no compunction, no feeling, because he didn't grow up, he doesn't know any better. He didn't grow up in the right environment. He didn't know how to be a man. She didn't know how to be a lady. She didn't know how to choose a husband. He didn't know how to choose a wife. These things always work when the family unit is intact. When it's not intact, it's free fall. And that's why I agree with you. It's going on now.
Can I just throw in one thing you might have missed?
Yeah.
And so again, let me just talk from, sorry, Omolara, I know you've been raising your hand, but let me talk from technology point of view, right? And since you mentioned data, if the data is pointing to that problem, what usually happens in as an engineer or engineers or engineering type of mind is that this is a problem. It requires a solution. So when people couldn't get taxis, the solution actually was not to throw out more taxis. It was actually to create an app so that you can actually call one close by. So if this is truly a problem, so let's go on the basis that it is a problem. Those statistics are correct. Let's go with that. The solution is not necessarily to go back in time. This solution is possible within an evolving race. Human race is what I mean now. Could be. This is a possible solution. Now, also remember that artificial intelligence is actually increasing by the minute, which means that a lot of the jobs, which is now a concern, a lot of the jobs can now be done by robots. But guess what? What you are describing means that there are going to be a new generation of jobs that AI cannot handle. Raising individual kids that are not necessarily your own kids, supervising them, those become the highest paying jobs at a point in time because AI cannot do it. So you are still assuming that you have to have a family unit. I am postulating the possibility that evolution will create jobs in those areas the same way you go to a hospital, somebody you've never met in your life, that you might actually not like them, they might not like you, will save your life because that's their training, right? And then there's a nurse who comes and caters for you like she has loved you all her life, but she's just a professional at caring for people who need healing. Now, what you are talking about is a new generation of jobs that will actually evolve very quickly and become the highest paid jobs. It still will not take people back into that family unit, which is how we did it before, which is also how they possibly, the new humans we will discover who have not interacted with us, right? Who have not been involved in this technological race will still be doing it. And that's why I said civilization is kind of funny, because we throw a whole lot of layers. Now, look at me. I am in a country where it's so far from me, in a city where I know nobody, for the sole purpose of being able to feed myself and my family. Then many years later, when there's very short enjoyment span left, they'll say, okay, you're retired, you can now go.
Right.
I could have been doing this in my village throughout with my goats, with my goat farm and my 5 or 6 wives, because I like women, yes, right? And we would have been very happy. Yes, truly speaking, my grandfather had 8, Omolara, and they were happy. In fact, I say this all the time. My closest uncle now lost his mom when he was 10. He started eating with my own father's smaller unit. His mother became my dad's mother.
He may not say you're Yoruba man.
Yes, and all that. So yes, I don't know what Oshupo means actually. That you got me there. But basically, what I'm trying to say is
when someone dies, they take the wife and give to his brother.
Oh no. I'm saying that my uncle lost his mom, but it was like he did not lose anybody because the other women became his mother. And all the spouses.
Mr. Kayode, let's not go down that lane of the polygamy. This thing.
He walked. This is how I came about, right? I'm not going to deny my own origin, right? My grandfather took care of my father to the point where my father became a monogamist and married one woman and had me. But I will never, education might have tried to wipe it away, but now I'm asking questions nobody can answer. If my great-grandfather was an evil, how did he take care of my grandfather who now gave birth to my father? How did they take care of them? Was there no disease during their time? Right? It is education that basically started to tell us that everything about our own past was evil. Our doctors were traditional, which means that it's negative.
I don't think it's
our religion was worshiping the devil because it did not look like their own God. Right, so let's not even go down that line. I still don't have anything. In fact, I am in love with my great grandparents' ways of life and how they solved. But what I'm trying to compare with is that evolution has led me to come into this place in this cold weather. It's currently minus.
How many wives do you have?
None.
Please,
because I'm not allowed to follow my great grandfather's ways now. None. None, because it has not. That's the evolution. So now I have this big place. I have a lot of resources, but I can't marry one wife because it's a difficult thing to do.
We're running out of time.
Yes,
sorry.
Let me stop there. The summary, Ron, is that you have discovered. And not only you looked at statistics, which means that everybody is looking at it. There's a problem. There's going to be innovation. That's part of evolution. And it will not be going back. It will be extracting the active ingredient of the drug. You understand, right? With Ago, those guys extracted the active ingredient. They will extract the active ingredient. Children need nurturing. They will create families that are paid to be families. And their sole job will be to raise the perfect gentleman and lady who will be independent and will not need to marry to be able to continue. That's just a story right there. I'll stop.
Sorry. Okay.
Excuse me, I have a call. I need to talk.
Wait. Memoon hasn't spoken since, so Memoon hasn't spoken. Let her speak. She has been raising her hand. On your camera now.
I don't know why it's stuck. It's stuck. I've been trying, so it's stuck.
Okay,
yeah. So the thing is, I agree with everything Oga Kayode has said. Everything, and more. The one thing, when we're talking about history or about this marriage, we don't focus on is actually its evolution. Because there was a time I was studying marriages, and it said that marriage came about. That initially the women were the ones who were at home, but they received many men. They received many men, and the men would come sleep with them, maybe give them a cow and that kind of thing. So they had many kids for many men.
Which culture that was that?
pre civilization, I would say. So when when the
Which
men
culture?
now decided,
No, sorry,
realized that it
sorry,
wasn't
so that we don't
Which
misinform.
culture?
Which
Name
culture?
me.
You know, I'm a historian.
what
Which
we are
culture?
talking about is generally pre-culture,
I'm an
pre-individual
African
breaking away
historian.
into cultures.
So
Yes,
I'm shocked that you're
Yes,
even
no,
pre-history.
saying
no, that's my own history.
no,
That,
it's not
but that
even
did not
anywhere near my
happen in your
culture.
history.
I don't know where you got
Sorry.
that
Abeg.
from.
No,
It's
Please,
no.
can I finish, please? I
okay.
would,
Just know
I
that
really
you're
would.
not talking about African culture. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, when we are talking about, let's imagine that we are going to the time of the Neanderthals. Neanderthals and people were pre-Yoruba. We were pre-tribal, right? They were. So there was time before our languages. There was time before our religions. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that is where Oga Friday is trying to go to.
I asked you a simple question. I didn't say which religion. I said which culture. Simple question.
Okay, you see, my problem with this question, and I also had the problem with the question you were asking him. You were saying that who was the head of the family. Now, what he was trying to say at that time, okay, let me answer you first.
He answered the question.
There was a period that there was no culture as we have it today, right?
Sorry. This thing you're saying, was it documented? Because we need to, when we
You
speak,
can,
we
I
need
got it
to
online. You can go online. I did not come
where
it
did
from
you
my
see
head.
it online? I'm coming. Where did you
And
see
when
it?
I get there, let me finish my statement. Then when I do that, you can do the research.
Have
If
a
you want to discredit me, go ahead and discredit. If I get the proof, I'll get the proof. This was reading I did sometime last year, not even this year, but I'm just referencing it. I didn't read it up for this thing. So please let's not lose the forest in the trees, I beg. The thing about this matter is this: we had civilization before our tribes. We had civilization before our culture. There were things before. Do you understand? And there was a meeting of the man and the woman and the children for that purpose. That is what Oga was trying to say. That is what I understood by what he was saying about the evolution.
He agreed. That's not what he said. He eventually agreed that in all those cultures,
Ronald.
Wait.
Come on. Come on, let her finish.
It's not an argument. It is her presenting her view.
Exactly.
And have a rebuttal.
Exactly. Let her finish.
Okay, we're about to run. Okay, finish.
Ron, calm down, Ron.
I beg me. I don't. I've actually lost interest. So enjoy. Nagaji.
Okay, thank you.
Wait. All right. Halt there. Memu, we've just corrected him, all right? And he has halted. He can put his head down, but he has muted himself. So you also finish your thought. We can't be doing vex in the middle of
I'm not vexing, but it's difficult for me to finish a
not going to do it
statement.
again.
And it
That's
is
why he accepted now.
exasperating.
See, two of us have told him he basically shut down. He's sulking, but at least he has muted himself. So finish your thought.
Now, the thing is this. What we call marriage is not as old as the human race. It's not as old. There was interaction between man and woman before marriage came, before religion came, before society evolved to the level it is at now. But I am not stating that. I want to acknowledge that. And goes to what I really appreciated him saying is that things will evolve. We cannot keep holding on to how it used to be. We have to look for a way to solve the problems that we have today with the resources that we have today. Because yesterday has already gone. We cannot now remove women and take them to the era where they didn't work. We cannot now move women back to the era where they were solely dependent financially on their husbands, and maybe that is why a lot of them stayed in the marriage. We cannot do that. We have evolved. So what solutions do we have for our problems that we are looking at today? In today's society, we acknowledge the problems. Whether we decide it's the woman that has the problem or it's the man that has the problem, that one is another debate. But the fact is that we have these problems, and statistics shows. So with the resources we have today, how are we going to move into a better tomorrow? That is what I think we should look at, instead of trying to dwell on what it used to be and how we bring yesterday back to today.
Now I must speak. Exactly. I agree with that. I know that prior to all of this modern way of living, there were systems in place that governed those societies. However they structured it, it was successful for them at that time. But everything that has influenced the institution of what we call marriage today and the breakdown of it, moving forward, how, what, like she said, because of how we've evolved, we can't go back to the way things were. So moving forward to preserve the unit of family as we know it, what can we do? What should we do? Because even in Christendom, all these religious, especially I will say Christianity, is a
Maymoon,
major
mute yourself.
in a lot of the breakdown
Sorry,
today.
what?
In a lot of breakdown today in marriages where women have chosen to listen to their pastors rather than listen to their husbands. And if pastor says this should not happen, or don't do this or don't do that, that's what the women will go with. So factoring all of that in, how do we preserve the unit of what we understand to be marriage today and family today? That's what I would like to know.
Can I answer that question, if I may, please?
Yes,
Um,
sir.
I would say that just really quickly, there are many successful cultures around that have found a way to preserve their own marriage and family and society, if you like. I remember there was a time I was in a city outside of, well, I was in Sacramento, California, briefly, and there was a neighborhood that I was in that was vastly Vietnamese, and they had found a way to create a society for themselves there where they were not buying. And I think this is just my own opinion about this.
Okay.
I think the first step that we must take as people of color, if we want to readdress this, is to understand the concept of family. And how do we understand the concept of family? Is to get back to the idea of community living again. It's just one idea. And I know it's going to be very unpopular, because I was talking to my son, for example, about this. I was like, you have 3 boys, I have 3 sons. And I was saying to them that, why can't the 3 of you, when you all get to a certain age, buy a big house and you all live inside this house, your wives, your children, you share the cost, you have this idea of what life should look like. And I know it sounds so far-fetched, but guess what? The Indians still do that today. The Chinese still do that today.
Yeah.
And I'm having this, and this is the way our forefathers lived historically. My great-grandfather's home was in such a way where his brother's house was here, his sister's wife, they all lived in that same community. And it was, to all intents and purposes, one big house where everybody kind of had their own different sections. And the fabric of family was very much there. Now, if we are thinking that those are too archaic and it's too back in the days, guess what? The Indians that live in this part of where I live in Texas, still have that lifestyle till today. And as a result, we are here, one big house after the other, in these master plan developments. And the reality of it is that we are trying to run a race that we are running by ourselves. And they are putting hands together to run this race. Who do you think is going to run that race faster? And who do you think is going to be more successful at that race that we are running? So,
sir, that's the key word, sir, successful. The people have moved away from what a successful human being is. Their definition of success is a big house, a high-end car. That is success.
And that's individual, right?
Well,
and it's very individual.
It is,
yes.
It's spread.
It's very individualistic, because I think that's my concern, is that if we think that we as people of color are going to move to the place that we need to get to, and we're not going to try and come back to the basics of working together, pulling resources together, thinking about family as one big melt, all of us together, and we keep running individual races, then guess what? One family is going to go, and another family will go off, and guess what? That one family, when they run their race and it doesn't work, guess what? There's no support to support that person anymore. And then all of a sudden, but if they were all part of one unit,
correct,
they all embody whatever that challenge is, go through it, and that person is not lost. How many of us have one uncle or auntie that nobody has heard of in 20 years. And the reason is because they've been lost in the, they've become lost in the street,
They are lost in transition.
they have been lost. So we can look at this and say there's got to be progress and ways to move forward. But sometimes you need to go back to go forward. And for us, particularly, I'll end by saying that, is that for us, people of color, I said that when I said that to my sons, they looked at me, they were like, but Dad, I don't see too many people doing that. I said, well, maybe let me correct you on that. There are not many black people that you might think are doing that. And then I reminded him that when you were born, when you were born in the UK, we took you to this Jewish man to circumcise you. The point is this: when we got to that Jewish man's house to circumcise you, sorry, I'm just using that as an example. Apologies if it's a little bit too extreme for our hearing. However, when we got to that guy's house in Stamford Hill.
No. What is it called? I'm in sync with you, Mr. Tunde, and a lot of thoughts are coming up.
Yeah.
But
see, when we got to that man's house in Stamford Hill in London at the time, that guy's home is a huge, gigantic home that there were about 5 or 6 generations of Jews living in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have completely lost the idea of such a way of life and way of living. And guess what? The Jews do it till today. So if we like, let us look at it like it's some old-fashioned archaic idea. The Chinese do it still today. The Arabs do it still today. The Indians do it still today. It is only us that we've come to this place.
Eastern Europeans and other
Eastern Europe, we are the only ones that think that I must live my own life in my own big home, and then my brother lives in one other home 2 states away. You are not going to find that in those Indian communities where I am one of 6. I'm number 7 of 7 children, and we all live in different states with our own individual mortgages. What a waste of time, man.
Sorry, I wanted to add something before, because we're already off time. See, the reason why I keep interrupting is this. There are people watching the live, right? And I know my sister came late when we're analyzing certain things. And here's the truth.
Are we still live?
We're live. So if we are going to postulate certain things, right? I always like us to come from a place of factual verification. What do I mean by this? A lot of people here, some of you watching know me as a very strong African historian. Very, very deep one. Not low level historian, very deep one. There's nothing you want to tell me about Africa. Even as I'm speaking now, I'm still researching certain cultures within the African context. And when somebody comes and makes a claim so extreme like this, I always want to hold you to it, because one, people are watching, right? I want us to be very factual. When Oga Kayode made that statement, which I agreed with, we still we cornered him to the wall to say what he didn't want to say. It's not that Oga Kayode didn't know, he knew, but he just didn't want to say it. At the end of the day, he said it. He said, yes, it is true that in all cultures, the reason why men are ahead is not because women are inferior. They are not inferior. Women are not inferior. Women are, let's get that out of the way. Men became head because at some point they were the ones hustling for land. They were the ones fighting wars, securing territories. They are the ones doing everything. When they finish fighting, they come together, sit, and decide how they want to live in community. This is not to say that women are useless. And I always want to drum it in the ears of every female listening. Everybody has his function, his and her function in society. The moment we understand that, just like in an office environment or a workforce, that everybody has a purpose. Job description. Everybody has, you can't cross over to the other part and function. Sometimes these things, some of these feminist women do, trying to do what men do, and find themselves like they are fish out of water. It's not like they are not good. They are smart women, but they are not within their comfort zone.
Ronald, you are taking us back again, no?
No, I'm coming. I'm going
to. Please let me correct one thing, Ronald. Since you are for correction, let me correct one thing. It is not all societies in which men head, because I just used Google, and there's the Moso of China. Maybe I'm not getting it right. There's the Bribri in Costa Rica. There's Umoja in Kenya. There's Minang something in Indonesia. There's Akan in Ghana. There's Kasi in India. So when we are speaking and we want to talk about being factual, I think we should do more research. We cannot claim to have all the knowledge.
Can I ask you this question?
It's
And
not,
this is
it's
the
not
question I've asked you before. Can you go to a public debate with minority and ignore the majority as a fact?
you
Does
said all, my dear. You said all.
hold on. I'm going somewhere with this. Like if I tell you that all men are strong, right? All men are stronger than women, but we know that there are some strong women who are stronger than men. Does that negate the fact that because there are a few percentage of women who have strength over what the statement I made? Of course not.
Let me be very honest with you. My problem with that statement is not because I am the first person that would tell you that exceptions of the rule doesn't discount the rule. As a scientist, I can tell you that for free.
I'm happy
But the
you know
fact of this matter, no, it doesn't discount the rule. It doesn't. So that it is not all. But when you make a statement and you are talking to me like my statement is, you want me to specify and back it up to the letter. What
we
you
asked
have
you,
to do
you
the
told
same.
us
You have to do the same.
No, we asked you, and you said something that was interesting. You said pre-human, and this is what evolutionist scientists do. Each time you ask a question, they are going to give you billions and gazillion years to solidify the statement because they know your human mind cannot comprehend it.
Because I was talking about evolution, Ron.
Yeah, but
I
you
said to evolution.
you said
If we're talking about evolution,
Ron, let it be now. Just let it be.
We've exceeded the time. So we'll continue. Wait, you guys, wait. You guys go to the comment section on YouTube so that we'll be fair to everybody. I don't want to look at you must go. You must go. If you don't go, I'll start calling you homosexy again. So choose one. So we are going to go back to wait. We are going to do this. Go to the YouTube comment section. If you will like us, because I want the viewers, I don't want Ron to be the decider of this. If you would like us to do a part 2 of this, fine. You guys decide. Leave it on the comment section. I can even leave a poll for you. If that's what you guys want, we'll do it next week. We'll do a part 2. But in honor
Please,
of...
I need to address Mr. Kayode and Mr. Tunde.
All of them. Then in honor of Maymun's postulation, so that we give her a platform, I've already arranged that in 2 weeks' time, that will be this topic of humanism and feminism. In 2 weeks' time will be between Maymun and...
Feminism is not my platform, I beg.
Did you hear what I just said? I said the topic. I didn't say... I'm saying in honor of you. I'm giving you honor.
If you want to honor me, please talk about talk about environment, plants. That is my field.
Can we talk about plants? Can we talk about plants?
Talk about how forestry, deforestation, those things. That is to honor me, not feminism.
We'll do nutrition on February. So, you see, today was a very interesting one. There was a lot of bars. There was a lot of bars or whatever it is we call it. But though, you see all these people here, I love all of them, and I'm sure they love me, including this stubborn Maymun. Since my love, you don't love me. Don't you love me? Wait. Don't you love me? Wait, Maymun, do you love me or not? Wait, hold on. Maymun, do you love me or not?
In fact, I can't wait for this thing to finish, so that me and you will start our own. I'm doing my research here. I'm waiting for you. So it's not a matter of love. I will finish you after this thing. Don't worry. I have my evidence now.
Wait, do you love me? Let's leave that story. Do you love me, yes or no? Tell the people.
Me, the only person I love is my God and my children.
You are taking the time I'm supposed to do a rejoinder for Mr. Tunde and Mr. Kayode. You are using it to talk about love.
It has already expired.
Okay, so are we live or we not live?
No,
are we live or not?
So thank you for watching. Everybody hold on so that...
Is there afterlife?
Yes,
is there after
yes. Thank you for watching. It's been entertaining. It's been buzz. It's been everything. I really enjoyed today's topic. And we'll still come back here. Don't worry about us. We are fine. All right. So God bless you all.
No, happy people, yes, it's a big family. This is how we roll.
This is how we roll. This is our family. It's a family. So happy holidays. Enjoy yourselves. Don't drink and drive.
I'm expecting my ampazo and vouchers.